Thank you. So we're going to see this. Pay attention. And then, can we get something to block this? I thought for one of that. Use the bigger one. Okay, so the film is courtesy of Film Arts and was directed by Ed Kizer and Will Kizer. So let's watch and take it from there. Thank you.
I have loved her to the same extent I have oftentimes despised her. I have despised her deprivation, her poverty, her noise, the aggression on the streets. In the same way I have loved her energy, her dash, her colour, her beauty. A harsh, cruel beauty, but beauty nonetheless. In reality, Lagos has hardly changed in 100 years, at least in terms of energy on the streets.
But it's also
The revelry, the joy, the pain, the passion, and the style. 600 years means nothing. Lagos style remains the same. Lagos, a city of joy and pain, a city of dreams, a city of passion, a city of style. Style, that indefinable concept which is manifested in elegance, confidence, a spirit that pervades the very fabric of your city. This is the land of my father. I found Lagos 56 years ago when I arrived here as a 6-year-old. My father had been born here into the royal lineages of Eshidokun and Tisoto. My father was extremely proud of his negotiations. My memories of Lagos are the verve and style that go through his veins, the fashion, the music, the attitude. Lagos activated me through my childhood and continues to do so as it has millions of others through the years. They came back educated, confident, bold, made their presence out in all sectors. They formed the strong indigenous power elite. Yes, the style was crystallizing. Lagos was changing. Then, it wasn't just about classical concerts and fancy restaurants. Real infrastructural change was taking place. Electricity was introduced into Lagos in 1998, several years before cities in Europe and the Americas. In 1899, the railway line was built from Lagos to Belfast. This ensured cheaper transportation of produce in the hinterland and made Lagos the biggest seaport, controlled 70% of all shipping in what was said to become Nigeria. In 1906, Lagos became the capital of southern Nigeria. And a few years later, on January 1st, 1914, hosted the amalgamation of the new nation of Nigeria. Thus it was that when the First World War started, troops were shipped from Lagos and the governor sat here to issue emergency orders related to the war. The end of the 1920s The 1920s confirmed beyond any shadow of doubt and merged middle class as well as the means to pay for services. Brands, they definitely Lagos Island was shown to the world in 1920, demonstrated by none other than one of its greatest stylistic masters, the legend Herb Collier, or Ejo Hiburu, as he was fondly known by Lagosians. He not only showed London what Lagos style was, but while at it, he even won the Apapala case before the council, the highest bill court in the British Empire. The 1920s also hosted the inaugural elections held in Nigeria, with the first being the 1920 town council elections, followed in 1923 by the legislative council elections held in Lagos as well as Labaf. But the nation was sadly to go to war once more in 1959 as the Second World War started. But at its conclusion in 1945, a new nation emerged, bolder, stronger, and even more confident. The 1940s witnessed three of the most poignant events defined that new cause of Lagos and signaled a new awareness of self and a proud nationalism that was to result years later in independence of the nation. The first of these was the General Strike of 1945, propelled from Lagos by leading lights like Mike Imodu, then President of the Railway Workers F. Modupe Alade, leader of the Locomotive Drivers Union. The 2-month-long strike for a cost of living allowance colonial government to its knees. It was the first nation industrial action by Nigerian workers, initiated and driven from Lagos. The second event was the Lagos Market Strike, again in 1945. This was the legendary trader and women's activist Alimotu Milim, in which the women successfully pressed against the arbitrary and oppressive controls imposed government. Lastly, the Hotel of 1947. This was when the Lagos Elite won to press the racist action in barring the Sierra Leonean civil servant Ivor Cummings lodged at the hotel on arrival to prior booking. The ensuing protest, led by legends such as Adeyo Alakija, Mo, Nnamdi Azikiwe, Ernest Ikuli, and T.A. Oduni, among many others. At its peak, thousands of Lagosians converged outside the hotel to protest. The agitation was so successful that the governor of the time, Sir Arthur Richards, made a pronouncement expressly declaring racial discrimination unlawful. It was following this that previously restricted premises like the European Hospital, now called Hospital, the Club, and the Colonial Church, now our Safe Church, were opened up to admit Nigerians. Mr. Manufakis, the Erring Bristol hotel manager, was dismissed. The lesson in all these: don't mess with Lagos. The 1930s and 1940s entry of a Lagosian elite, equally brilliant and high-achieving, they assimilated and became part of Lagos landscape. Achievers they may have been, but everyone needs time to relax, and Lagos certainly had days in which to do so, if you could it. Four icons exemplify this era. First, Sir Anwar Alakija, a barrister, businessman, politician, and a community leader. second was Dr. Nandikwe, a journalist, a politician, a sportsman, a businessman, an all-round fine boy, who was to go on to become the first president of an independent Nigeria. Chief Phyllis Shobowale Benson, also known as Toss Benson, gets third mention. As a hardened journalist, a barrister, a politician, and a style icon. Lastly, Sir Samuel Ayode Manoa, medical doctor and public servant. He was a walking personification of style and substance. For many, the 1950s presented booming economy. Lagos retained its place as Nigeria's leading port and remained as national capital. With this success came immigration. Massive numbers trooped Lagos looking for opportunity, business, employment, and allies. In the Lagos Town Council election 1950, women were permitted to vote for the very first time, and also a woman, Henrietta Lawson, was elected to political office.
Back mi máa fi mi sílẹ̀ láéláé. Àdùkẹ́ ò máa kọ̀ mí sílẹ̀ rárá. Àdùkẹ́ mi máa fi mi sílẹ̀ láéláé. Àdùkẹ́ ò máa kọ̀ mí sílẹ̀ rárá. Tó bá dalẹ̀ kò jẹ́ ká lọ. Tó bá dalẹ̀ kò jẹ́ ká lọ. Mo fẹ́ràn rẹ̀ rárá. Tó bá dalẹ̀ kò jẹ́ ká lọ. Tó bá dalẹ̀ kò jẹ́ ká lọ. Mo fẹ́ràn rẹ̀ o. Mo fẹ́ràn rẹ̀ o. Àdùkẹ́. Mo fẹ́ràn rẹ̀ o. Àdùkẹ́. Mo fẹ́ràn rẹ̀ o.
Lè mọ́lẹ̀ títí ó wá lábí lọ́sàn ó tó mọ òun kọ́ jíjọ lómijọ jíjọ lómijọ jíjọ lómijọ tó mọ òun kọ́. Òṣùpá lè mọ́lẹ̀ títí títí kó wá lábí lọ́sàn ó tó mọ òun kọ́ jíjọ lómijọ.
In 1956, Lagos was to receive another royal visitor, this time in the person of Queen Elizabeth II.
Darling, don't say no. Darling, don't you say no. Darling, if you know that you love me, I say, honey, don't you say no. Darling, don't say no. Darling, don't you say no. Darling, if you know that you love me, I say, honey, don't say no. Darling, 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 don't say no. Darling, don't you say no. Darling, if you know that you love me, I say, honey, don't you say no.
If Nigeria ever had a middle class, it was created in the 1920s and 1930s. But by the 1950s, the Nigerian middle class had certainly arrived, and nowhere more so than in Lagos, the city of style. Consumer brands weren't sleeping. They knew who to reach, and there were consumers aplenty. Lagos was full of them, and the brands reached out, big time.
Nylon dress, it's a lovely dress. Nylon dress, it's a fancy dress. If you want to make your baby happy, nylon is good for her. Baby happy, go to shop and get a dozen of nylon. She will know nobody but you alone.
A standout area for Lagos was in its music. Lagos was a magnet for musicians from all over the world, as much as from within Nigeria. Drawn to a hungry city replete with teeming fans, hungry for the next fad, hungry for the next new trend, hungry for the next new hit. Lagos was the place to be for the musician.
Without labor, if you must go, nobody cares. If you marry taxi driver, I don't care. If you marry lorry driver, I don't care. If you marry railway driver, I don't care. If you marry motor driver, I don't care. Sisi Chiju, you know the shame. Plenty husbands is too much. If she must go, don't you worry. Please let her go, nobody cares.
Ha ha ha, ha ha ha, ha. If you want to make a lover, never you make.
Television was introduced into Africa via the Western Nigeria Television Service, known by its acronym WNTV, the brainchild of Chief Obafemi Awolowo, the premier of the Western region at the time. For once, Lagos was outshone. But not to worry. The light of the Western region shining on the whole of Africa was also shared by Lagos, with its signals bringing television to Lagos for the very first time. On October 1st, 1960, Nigeria became an independent nation, and parties were held all over the country. A moment of pride, excitement, expectation. And nowhere more so than in the nation's new capital, Lagos, where fittingly a party was held at the racecourse led by the new Prime Minister, Sir Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. A proud nation marched forward into what was a hopeful era. After the parties, with the seat of government firmly located in the heart of the island, Lagos consolidated its role as the commercial and administrative engine room of the newly independent nation, which turned to Lagos as its starting point for huge innovations and events in its history. Lagos hosted the launch of the whopping £1.2 billion 1962 to 1968 National Development Plan, which funded huge developments around the country. More specifically in Lagos, the construction of the second mainland bridge, otherwise known as Eco Bridge, and the reconstruction of Ikorodu Road were realized, alongside the construction of the unique citadel, the University of Lagos, which opened its doors in 1962. 1961 witnessed the launch of the Nigerian Stock Exchange, as well as nationalization of the Nigerian National Shipping Line. Hot on the heels in 1962, the Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation, NBC, began transmitting television signals from Lagos. The first post-independence international trade fair, which I attended with my parents, was held in Lagos in 1962, as well as becoming the site of the first Nigerian law school. Again that year, Nigeria attained republic status with another lavish ceremony at the racecourse in Lagos. Alongside this all in sports, based on a suggestion by the Lagos-based Daily Times journalist Peter Osugo, Lagos hosted the rebranding of the Nigerian national football team as the iconic Green Eagles from their erstwhile name, the Red Devils, and also opened her arms to welcome the new world boxing champion, Muhammad Ali. Lagos was bubbling. New clubs opened their doors, notably the legendary Kakadu nightclub on Herbert Macaulay Street in Yaba, which joined Bobby Benson's renowned Kabam Bamboo on Ikorodu Road in providing a vibrant nightlife to the city. In arts and culture, she'd become a mecca for Afro-American and Afro-Caribbean stars. Louis Armstrong, beat poet Langston Hughes, Nina Simone, Chubby Checker, Lionel Hampton, Randy Weston, Brock Peters, Martha Flowers and Odetta were just some of the iconic black figures of the era who visited Lagos to enjoy the glorious atmosphere of the world's most populous black nation through the eyes of its energetic capital city. They weren't alone. A few years later, the world-renowned designer Pierre Balmain was received with pomp in the City of Style, and Lagos also played host to civil rights champions W.E.B. and Malcolm X, amongst others. In the interim, Lagos continued as a beehive of cultural and trend-setting activity. The nation's latest fashion, dance and music styles innovatively originated from the dance halls and on the catwalks of Lagos. The first generation of supermodels and female style icons emerged from Lagos, notable amongst whom were the legendary Joyce Obong, model, designer and all-round debutante, and Titi Alakija, model and style icon. However, if there was anyone responsible for showcasing Nigerian style on the international stage, it was without question the Lagos-born fashion designer Sade Thomas, whose iconic designs were celebrated on and in the finest catwalks and salons of Europe. Two formidable female icons of the era were the vivacious and talented Francesca Emmanuel, actress, operetta, and the first Nigerian woman to serve as an administrative officer in the Nigerian civil service. Of course, I must make mention of the fact that she's a proud princess of Popo Aguda, Lagos. The other was Adekunbi Macaulay, who in 1963 became the second woman to be commissioned into the Nigerian army and the joint first to attain the rank of captain alongside Josephine Tolefe. In the midst of all, a cultural revolution was kick-started from the mid-1960s. This was the classic Owambe culture, encompassing both music and fashion, that was to replace the erstwhile big band dance hall style of high life which had swept the nation in the 1950s. Stars of the Owambe genre included Lagosian stars like Tunde Nightingale, Kayode Fashola, and old war horses like Ayinde Bakari, Fatai Rolling Dollar, and Julius Araba. Behind these legends emerged a new crop of fresh-faced youngsters who were soon to become giants. Sani Ade, Ebenezer Obey, S.F. Olowo Kere, and Dele Ojo are notable mentions. However, high life still had its following, as was evident in the much publicized feud between two titans, Rex Lawson and Fela Ransom Kuti, as he was then known, as they battled for leadership of the genre. At the same time, a quiet revolution was taking place with the emergence of female band leaders, such as the formidable Victoria Iremi, who led a Lagos-based high life band. Initially a member of Victor Laya's famed Cool Cats band, she broke away to lead her own Roadhouse dance band, based at Idioro in the mid-1960s. Pop singer Mona Finney also had her own band, the Sunflowers. And other notable mentions include Meg Agomo, who led an all-girl band, the Tranquilizers, and organist Rosalind Golly and her band, the Diamond Girls, who were based at Bobby Benson's Kabam Bamboo. Lagos fashion was influenced by global trends. Women's traditional outfits weren't spared the encroachment, as the traditional buba and diro hemlines suddenly mimicked the miniskirts of Paris and London. Likewise, the width of the men's traditional trousers, the shokoto, narrowed in tribute to the drainpipe trousers worn in Europe. Alongside this, a new counterculture influenced by the emerging Black Power movement was slowly seeping into national consciousness through Lagos. Soul music, which arguably borrowed its origins from our traditional rhythms, and pop music began to find its way into the dance halls and radio waves of Lagos. Lagos grasped it in its usual ardent passion, and the social scene was throbbing. Any doubts about its popularity were firmly dashed with Millicent Small's tour in 1964, which I recall as a child. She played to sell-out concerts, accompanied by soul singer Jackie Edwards, and her music was a constant feature on radio waves in Lagos. The mid-1960s saw the emergence of a wave of Nigerian boy bands in the pop genre. The Cyclops, the Hikers, the Vampires, the Figures, Paperback, the Soul Assembly, and many more. In 1965, Lagos witnessed the coronation of the latest in its long lines of great kings, Oba Oyekan II. He ascended the throne in a glorious ceremony that combined ancient tradition and Lagosian glitz. In the ensuing years, he was to embody that fine mix of proud Lagosian culture and cosmopolitan pedigree. In the undertow of this glorious cultural wave were rumblings of crisis within the national fabric. Lagos sadly was to be the scene of the first military coup in Nigerian history on January 15, 1966, in which the civilian government was overthrown. And indeed, it was once again the site of a second military coup on July 29, 1966, in which the government, the Major General Agui Ironsi, was overthrown and replaced with the government of General Yakubu Gowon. The ensuing events sadly resulted in the Nigerian Civil War, which lasted from July 1967 to January 1970. Lagos was not spared the effects of the crisis, with explosions rocking the Casino Cinema in Yaba and a residence in southwest Ikoyi. Whilst there was little to cheer in the events of this period, Lagosians could at least take solace in the creation of their own state. Lagos State was birthed after several years of agitation on May 27, 1967, with a Lagosian son, Brigadier Mobolaji Johnson, as its first governor. A proud moment for its approximately 2 million strong citizens.
Ima give me button, belle, color my hat.
bottom belly, cool my heart, cool my heart. If I give me bottom belly, cool my heart, cool my heart. Imana lunga, baby, imana lunga. Imana lunga, mana majenga, imana lunga. Bonse, zikiwe, bonse. Bonse, mama zikiwe, bonse.
Hello, everyone. So, Mr. Jaman wanted us to review. Can we have 2 or more volunteers come up to say 1 or 2 things about the documentary? Cecilia, even I here. I saw those people that were serious writing notes. So yeah, come on. But meanwhile, do we have 2 more people to join them? Alufe. Tinelo. Do you want? Do you want to join? So I would hand over the mic to them and let's hear what they've got to say.
Thank you very much. First, I would like to congratulate Cora on its ability to come up with this 25th edition of the Lagos Book Can. I want you to give them a round of applause. I am saying that with a passion in my heart because I've come to understand that this is perhaps the most difficult time in the history of this country for anybody to put up a program like this. It is not for the lily-livered. These are the type of things that separate the men. A lot of industries have closed down, a lot of businesses are in trouble, marriages are dysfunctional, hope is lost, the future, the historical way, looking at the loss that we grew up in, where we worked and played and schooled and did a lot of things. I'll be 62 in January, so I'm quite qualified. Thank you very much for that. Edagba. Amen. Amen. And so I've been around for that length of time. I think to some extent I'm qualified to make comment about Lagos. So my job is simple. I will hand over the mic to those who want to take the first shots. Then when that is done, I will decide when to open the floor to the participants on this side of the divide. And then we will get back to the people that will educate us more on the film. And then we'll make some few more comments, and then I'll hand over the mic. I hope that sequence is in order. Okay, so who wants to go first? The Lagos we know. The Lagos we live in. And the Lagos we hope to continue to live and do well in. Who goes first? Okay, I'll pick you. I'll use the chairman's discretion to call you to give us your opinion of Lagos. I'll sing from this. Your name and
Good morning, everyone. My name is Father Olakunle Abayomi, and it's good to be here today and to be part of this discussion based on the title is A Trip to the Past. That is the kind of debate of the Lagos State. So one of the things I want to discuss or talk more is the idea of the general strike in 1945, and also the kind of the protest in 1947, that is the protest against racial discrimination. So to my understanding before, I thought this idea of protest starts actually maybe in 19th century, like 20th century, something that is recent. And for about many years now, let's just say 20 years now, my understanding is that protest is more of a selfish ambition by some group of people. So listening and watching this kind of video, looking at the idea and the strategies that was used by the women in 1945, that's the Lagos Market Women's Strike, and also the National Industrial Strike, made me understand that it's a kind of a general and that truly let me just try to eradicate the understanding that the protest is a selfish ambition. It's totally not a selfish ambition. It's kind of awareness, kind of collective understanding to fight for the people's rights. And the second thing is the protest against the racial discrimination. And while I was trying to watch the video, I thought it's going to end like after the protest, there was no solution. But in the video, I realized that there was a successful protest. It was a successful protest to the point that it led to the manager and other members of that hotel were sacked. So which means truly Lagos State have established something called union and understanding of human awareness. So that is the first thing, and I think the past truly have established and laid down a path for us to understand that protest, it is a way of fighting for the people's rights peacefully and not a selfish ambition that many people thought is the definition of protest. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Another round of applause for him. What he brought out there was very powerful. He took us back to the very essence of human societies. That for any society to move forward, there has to be issues that will come forth, and there have to be reactions to those issues, and how the conflicts that have emerged from such things will be resolved. The issues he brought out were very, very important. 1945, you remember that after the Second World War, when a lot of our forefathers went to fight in the European theater of battles, they came back and they discovered that the white men were not that superior. Some of them did even better than the white soldiers who commandeered them and who were doing gag all over the place. So they came back and the myth was broken that the black man was inferior. So they came back and they had a new spirit in them, and they were ready to challenge that which was not auguring well for them. And that was part of why you had that protest or revolution, if you like, to call it. Second was that in every contest, there will be winners, and what makes you win at times is not so much about the noise you make, but the organization that you put together, the mobilization of efforts that made it happen. And it was a very brave act, because at that time you had the Europeans fully in charge, and whatever they said at that time was like law. But those people came up and said, no, this nonsense has to stop. You cannot dominate us and do racism in this country that belongs to us. And it was barefaced, because the people who were there were actually deprived the opportunities of using public spaces like hotels and the rest of them. But I'm happy, and rightly pointed out, that the fight was done to a standstill, and the people won. In fact, it was so serious that the governor of Lagos at that time came out publicly to say that racism in every form had been abolished. A round of applause for those that fought in that battle. So I'll quickly call on the next person, Chinelu, whose birthday is today. Birthday girl.
Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Chinelo. So, in addition to what Kunle said, I'm going to be talking more on the growth of Lagos from the time it was known as Eko to now that we know it as Lagos. Now, when these British people came into Lagos, don't you think that there was like good changes in the sense that the Lagos then and the Lagos now. Now, during those times, they were able to reform the states in such a way that there were a lot of functional things that were happening. Now, it was more organized. I would say it was more organized. People knew their duties. Watching the video, I got to realize that Lagos was not a place where people would dump things anyhow. It was more clean. It was more, the buildings were okay. And people who found themselves in certain offices, like we had certain offices, they were introduced to people, to Nigerians, so that they could actually be able to relate more with the Yorubas and the normal citizens of the state. So these people, they knew what they were supposed to do, and it kind of strengthened the relationship between the individuals in the states and the white people. And then I watched a particular documentary or a particular movie, will I say, and I realized that the English that they spoke those days were more polished than the English that we speak these days. And then also when they showed a part, the part that says sorry, this man that said, the more things change, the more they stayed the same. Are you getting? I saw the then and the now, the 90 something and the 2005. It was like, why can't we change things as things are changing? You get what I'm saying? Yeah. Nigeria, I was saying, Nigeria then was more of a clean environment, a very okay environment. But now it's more of a place where people will just do whatever they like. You know, people don't. Why can't they also like try to bring out money to change certain things? Okay. Why must the building that has been since the day of the white people still remain now? And even things are getting worse than it was before. So I wanted to ask you a question to end my session. And the question is, between Lagos now and Lagos then, which one is better to you?
Okay.
Thank you.
As societies evolve, a lot of things also change. I'm happy you made reference to the time when Lagos was called Eko. At that time, there was this very heavy association with the Benin Empire. And in fact, it wasn't not just Eko as the space, the collective space, that had the imprints of Benin on it. A lot of places in Lagos, landmarks in Lagos, actually had names that were originated from the old Edo Benin Empire. It was like Idungono. Idungono was a place where Idun is like a general public square. Gono was Pepe, a place where you had Pepe. Idumota, all those things. So you had them as expressions that came from the Benin time. And then you also had, even the Oba of Lagos at that time could not become Oba without some form of endorsement from those people in Benin. So it was as serious as that. And the Benin person was so heavy that you also had, in fact, a lot of names, Oba Seki, Oba Kolorin. People bear them now. Some of them are Yoruba names, but they used to come from Oba Zuaye. Then some call it Oba Luaye and all those things. So you had that strong association. So Eko at that time was more like a more relevant socio-cultural environment where people knew themselves. The hierarchies were well established. There was a place for the white cap chiefs, who were the Udejos, who were the owners of the land. The Oba was there in council with the elders of the place. And then you had the market women, you had the students, you had all manner of people. So, and like you said, the society was much more serene, was much more organized at that time. Because don't forget that the colonial presence was heavy at that time in Lagos. If you look at other films and other books that you read, you discover that even the way they dressed had some particular tones to them. The sight, the smell, and the sound of Lagos then was more different. And don't also forget that at that time, Lagos had about 2 million people living in it. Today, we talk about 20 to 22 million. So there is an explosion in Lagos alone, in Lagos now, that at that time again, the Omuniles were there. They were not the men that will grab your land, as they are called today, but those people that will tell you that, that is, we own the land, and you could hardly move a foot without having things to do with them. Because like I said before, it was a highly hierarchical society. Everyone knew his place. Today, people who came from Lagos, the Oluwas, the Bashoas, the Olotos, they will tell you that they know themselves. And they are Lagosians. Some names you hear, you know that these ones are actually Lagosians. And of course, over time, the success that Lagos recorded brought so many from other places. The Igbos came, found their place, settled down. One of the earliest Igbos that came there and made so much money and did well, the father of the late Biafran leader, Odumegwu Ojukwu, Sir Louis Ojukwu, he was a very successful businessman in Lagos, was a transporter, among other things, and he brought a lot of Igbo people to do commerce in Lagos. And they were able to buy lands, buy houses, build businesses, build family, intermarry and all that, and they established their own space within Lagos. The Hausas also came, other people from other southwestern parts of Nigeria came, and today you have a melting pot, a really cosmopolitan part of what we could call the modern Nigeria. So in that film, and other films that you will probably watch by way of research, and books that you read, you will see that Lagos had actually metamorphosed from being just that small echo to a mega city. Thank you very much. Your opinion?
Hi, everyone. My name is Mercy Timle Nkilani. And the first thing that was surprising to me when the documentary began is the fact that they said the first settlers in Lagos were the Aworis.
Yeah.
But now, the Aworis claim Ogun State.
No.
Most of them, the people that I know, they don't claim Lagos. I know an Awori. Well, I know an Awori that says it's from Ogun State. Some of them claim, okay, let's say it this way, some of them claim Ogun State, some of them claim Lagos State. So it's...
Okay, maybe I need to come here quickly because so that we don't... Yeah, or you have an opinion, Awori. Quickly. Yeah.
The Aworis were first
settlers
in
Lagos.
It doesn't mean that they own Lagos.
I know, right?
They came from a place.
Yeah.
But you know that some people settle in like somewhere, like people now these days we trace our origin back to states we don't come from, states we don't claim. You get?
Says that the Ilajes also were the first settlers.
Okay, we'll do it like this. When Lagos was 50 in 2017, there was a film that was shown at Museum Center as part of the celebration for that. It was a 50 cast film, 50 people, 50 for 50 years in Lagos. And it was put together by Bookie Wright. And one of the things about that film, is the team actually, the title of that film is Iwuri Olofin. I don't know whether anybody has seen that film. It was also shown here at a point, and I've watched on 2 occasions. And they made an attempt to trace the history of their Aworis. And one of the things they discovered was that they were all in Ife at that time, which you can safely call the cradle of Yoruba land. And that couple did not have any child. And you know, in Africa, we give birth to children to continue to establish our lineage and all that. So that became a crisis for them at the marital front. And they went to Ifa, and Ifa told them that if they must ever have any child, then they have to leave that place where they were and go to an unknown place where they will settle and eventually have children. So they decided to move, and they moved. They went in a canoe, and they told them that there will be a calabash that will be on water, like a guide for them. And that they will continue to follow that thing. When they got to a place where the thing will float, or when the thing will sink, Awori, Awo, you know, like Ori, that is when they will settle. You know, it was a riverine area. They built their community. Other people joined them, and they finally had their children. And a lot of things happened. So that will give you a documented evidence that actually there are people that, like you said, are worried.
Okay. So another perspective I have is Lagos has always been a city of style and has always had people of influence. Yeah. But it's surprising that there have been no particular impacts in the political aspect of Nigeria, because these days we still have corruption, we have bribery, and I'm bringing it now to the general Nigerian context, not just the Lagos part.
Yeah.
Yes. So we gained independence about 63 years ago, but then now some people even say that life was better during the colonial period, that there was no corruption and everything. Why is it that our leaders who even fought for independence, why is it that they are not making impacts towards the betterment of the country and not just Lagos? And also, there's this part that, okay, the first elections that happened in Lagos happened in 1920, according to the documentary. And the first time women were allowed to vote was in 1950. That was 30 years after elections. So, and this thing is still happening in our Nigeria and our Lagos of today, gender inequality. That women are not like, okay, we can vote now, we can, we can choose to want to get elected into offices, but then it's not happening like it's supposed to. Like the disparity is very clear. It's very wide. Yeah. Why is it still like that?
Okay, let me comment. Okay, she has raised a very important issue, which is so critical that we must just look at. She is looking at the political system now as it's operated by people within Lagos and maybe by extension Nigeria. You see, you must remember that most societies in Africa were patrilineal, as in the men were the ones that most of the time will come out as influencers and as the movers and shakers of such places. And because of that, coupled with the fact that an African woman traditionally will see herself as belonging to the kitchen, as taking care of the family, as taking care of the home front, the children, and the rest of them. So it took them a long time to come out. By the time people like Pelewura came out, 1945, another time, what she did was like strange, because it wasn't within the context of the general behavior, the pattern at that time. And that was part of why she was celebrated for at least daring to come out at that time with such mobilizational skill and with such massive results that even some men could not achieve at that time. So you discover that every society becomes a function of what has taken place before the present time. And that will explain why a lot of women did not come out. If you look at the documentary, you see that you hardly find any woman of prominence that came out. Many of them came out to do commerce, like Efunroye, Tinubu, and the rest of them. But on the political front, you see so many of them. Even people like Abbas Mugaji are celebrated as mentees of Kwelewura, were still not politically strong on their own. They actually perform more as appendages to people like Chief Olowo and the rest of them who were mobilizing support of the people for election. So you hardly found them come out.
Okay, so do you think that women are the ones limiting their progress in the political sphere and something like that? Do you think we are the ones limiting ourselves?
Sometimes yes, because it will take time. Even by global standard, the percentage of men that have come out to play politics are still very much higher than what we have on the female side. Go and do your research. And Nigeria is not an exception. In fact, it's even worse now because most of the political machines are operated and established by the men. Look at the governorship election that took place. How many governors came out from the female folk? You hardly couldn't find anybody. So it's difficult. They will come out, they will contest, but they didn't have the guts, the money, the energy, and everything that you need to. And they were not that rough as the men. You know, a Nigerian politician will do a manner of things, possibly steal, kill, hire talks, do banditry, all manner of things because he wants to get power. But the women were not that way, and they were not that audacious. I like the word you used. So we leave that for now, and then we'll go to the last person on the panel here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My name is Cecilia Williams,
Okay.
and I want to first start with the fact that I'm a Lagosian.
Oh.
So, contrary to what I've heard, I want to applaud this documentary because growing up, there are different things I've heard from Lagos, from my parents, from my grandparents, because we have a lineup of back to history, dating back in this history. Yeah. And I want to say this documentary has cleared up some facts that were not quite clear to me. So I want to start with the fact that Lagos is a welcoming city.
Yeah.
So over the years growing up, when I tell people I'm a Lagosian and all of that, I hear things like, where do you actually come from? Lagos is a no man's land. Ask your parents, you're not from Lagos. I grew up here in Lagos, that means I'm a Lagosian, and you're from a southern state and all of that. Ask your parents, you're not legitimately from Lagos, nobody's from Lagos, and things like that. So I'm just happy that this documentary clears up the fact that there are actually people who own the land. Yeah. We have an origin, we're not just, I don't know, I don't want to use the word settlers, but we're not just people that just came to a space. It is our space, it is our land. Yeah. Yeah. And Lagos is a welcoming city in this sphere that we accept people irrespective of where you come from, what you do, because majority of the names that were shown in this documentary, like half of them were not Lagosians. Yeah. Yeah. But in the history of Lagos and the making of Lagos, they assisted in the path to pushing Lagos to where it is now. Yeah. And the issue I kind of have with Lagos, yes, it's a stylish place. It's the birth of a city of style. That style, it was adapted and maintained, but now, in the recent times, it's not being maintained. Because you have, like she mentioned, said the buildings and all of that. Yeah. There's this place on the way to Takwa Bay. It's quite in the bush. On the way to Takwa Bay, it's in between C School, Apapa, and Takwa Bay. The first, I think Herbert Macaulay's house or something. That place is in ruins.
No.
Lagos has potential for a lot of things, tourism-wise, but it's not being maintained based on the fact that I feel like Lagosians nowadays, they have this mentality of copy-paste. Like, look at the houses in Lekki, for example. A lot of them have the same architectural structure, simply because everybody wants to do the same thing, and they are erasing history to put up these new artifacts. Like, look at Bar Beach and all of that. It's been sandfilled because they want to put up new architectural structures that won't last. Because a lot of these houses are waterlogged. You're building it on water. You're building it on history. You're erasing history to make the future that won't last. So my question now is, how do we, because it's a trip to the past, how about we've looked into the past, how do we look into the future? Okay. That's my question.
Okay, fine. I want to thank you very much because you succeeded in coming up with a bridge between what we saw that represented the past and what we have today in Lagos and our own lives as contemporary people in Lagos, and the future of what that Lagos and Nigeria and Africa by extension could become. Now, Omoyiko, let me congratulate you on the fact that you could publicly come up to say you are a Lagosian. the people who are Lagosians and could beat their chest and say, oh, Mekoniwa, is like there's an endangered species now. Because of the type of madness that we have seen in Lagos now, and because of the fact that being a melting pot, all manner of strange influences have taken over the place, and it's becoming more and more difficult to say who the Omoyekos themselves are. And don't also forget that Lagos started like an Omoluabi place, a place where gentlemen who were properly born and bred, who had good upbringing, who went to good schools, some of them who went abroad and came back and started businesses and were in civil service, did very well. Now, it's like that clan is diminishing now. You see so much hustle and bustle in Lagos, and anonymity has become the order of the day. You hardly could even point out somebody and say, oh, Mekwelele, it's becoming a different thing. So, for you to come out, I'll say yes. And you are in good company because my mother is from Lagos. My mother is a Lagosian. And so, we are good, and we are doing well, and we respect the culture of the people. And Lagos, like you said, is a welcoming place. Anybody can come to Lagos and become anything. It's as simple as that. But the downside of that is that because people come from other places, they cannot be tracked. Nobody sometimes knows who they are and who gave back to them and where they have come from. They could do crime and escape very easily. You know, anonymity breeds crime. When people live in a place where you can't identify them easily as Omoile Lelei, then it becomes very difficult. People can go away with all manner of things. Impunity reigns supreme. Law and order become difficult to maintain. And then it's like the whole place has broken up. But in the future, I think Lagos will still do well because some of the things that you see now, some of them are going to be checked. People are still going to come. Lagos remains a very important place for commerce, for trade, for industry. Yeah. Tourism is still thriving. People are bringing their money. Energy is on the rise. Even if other places will not do well, Lagos will, because that's a very brand seaport. It has been established over the years. Don't forget it was the capital of Nigeria for several years. Yeah. It's still the commercial capital as far as some of us are concerned. The Abuja does not have the potential that Lagos has, and they themselves know that. So the future is quite good. It's just that we need to go back to some of the things that made Lagos good in those days. You mentioned architecture. The buildings of those days you cannot compare with what we have today. And that is because you see that government was building the structures, or individuals who had money, who were Lagosians, who had worked very well, had built good structures. So what we have today is that a lot of the houses that the original moneyless have, they don't have the financial strength to develop them, or to renovate them, or to build them down, knock them down and build them again. Developers are coming in for purely commercial interests, and they are building with substantial materials that sometimes we build a house today, 10 years after, the place will collapse, and LAFSCA may have to warn you to pull you down. Things like that. So if you do continue to do that, you won't have good structures. But if people, as they begin to progress and make money and continue to identify with Lagos, come together and put up good structures, then we have a good part. Then I also think Ogun State will help, or also states that are near to Lagos, because as people begin to overcrowd Lagos, some of them might, in fact, they are already doing it now, move to the neighboring states, and then they will develop those states again, and they reduce the congestion that we are witnessing right now in Lagos. Let me leave it at that for now. Now, okay.
So my second question now, okay. In the documentary, I noticed that for every clip and all of that, you see a hint of tradition. Yeah. For example, the masquerades and whatnot is not dating back to recent times. Yeah. They were present back in the days. So my question is now, because we see, okay, religion came in through the white people, a lot of improvements, dressing, how we speak and all of that. How do we maintain tradition in Lagos State that is like, for example, like there's this clip going around of how Obas are placed, basically. Okay. Back in the day, Obas were seen as traditional rulers. Even the presidents come to them but nowadays it's not so. Yeah. Obas are being told to regard the president when they come in. So how do we maintain our tradition, irrespective of the improvements we see in Lagos culture and Nigerian culture today? Okay,
what I'll do is simple. I'll take a shot at that, and I'll open the floor for other participants in the house so that we can have a wide array of comments and thoughts and opinions that will broaden that which is being discussed. I hope that's know that. So let me quickly say that Lagos is not the only victim of that socio-political shift that you painted now. In those days, an average Oba in southwest Nigeria is seen as Alashe Ekeji Orisha. You know, it's like next to God is the person. And whatever he said at that time was correct, was accepted as the reason. In fact, at that time, the kings were performing three major roles. executive functions, because they are the ones that will ensure that the place is well run and everything. The systems are in place, the structures are working and everything. Executive, they make decisions and make policies and formulate them through their agents who are sent over the place. Then it becomes the judicial officer too, because when he has to sit and adjudicate over matters, whatever he says becomes final. Then it's also the judicial person, because when matters of law come up in that domain, he's still the one whose voice is heard last. But you see, when you look at emerging societies, you discover that between that time they were doing all that and now, there have been a lot of changes. You know, even power has shifted. More power centers have emerged. More power structures. The structuring of power itself has taken place. Today, they will tell you that the Oba is under the governor. And we've seen instances where Obas, not only in the Southwest, but in other places, have been removed. Some banished. Recently, not recently, the emir of Kanu, somebody as powerful as the former governor of Central Bank was removed by Ganduje. And they haven't enough for. Nobody will have thought such thing will happen, but these are evolutions that will happen. Some of them bad, but a number of them good. Some of them bad because you cannot have a society that will be easily overrun by foreign agents. It will damage our society. But also, you need to also instill some checks so that certain leaders don't become too powerful that you won't have modern checks and balances to address the excesses. So it depends on which one trumps as we go on, because societies will evolve. Societies will change. The Lagos I see is not the same Lagos you see 20 years from now. The same Lagos you saw in that documentary is not the same Lagos you see now. There's a lot of changes that take place. But how do we manage the changes? So on that note, I would like to just leave it like that for now and open the floor so that other people like Mr. Aribisala, my sister Amarachi, and the rest of them can have their own shots at the issues on ground. I'll start from you. Yeah. Okay, let somebody. Then I'll come back to you. Okay. He's passing the thing. Who wants to go? Short remarks or questions, and then we are good.
All right, my name is Nathaniel. So I want to talk about, because when I was looking at the documentary, I was observing the growth in art and culture.
You want to welcome our mommy? Welcome to the house. God bless you. Go ahead.
So I was focusing on the segment of the art and culture. And yes, I want to touch that time when the style of the Lagosians then in the Kakadu club and everything. Those, yes. So I want to those nightclubs. They dress in Iro and Buba as they are supposed to, as Lagosians. That is the tradition of a Yoruba land. So now, fast forward to today. We don't even want to wear Iro and Buba again. We feel like this is old-fashioned. What do we mean by old-fashioned? Now we prefer to put on the white man's garment proudly to club, and do you understand what I'm saying? So to me, it's that on that part, to me it is not growth, because if you watch the Scandinavians movie and the British movie, you see them, the same style then is still what they do till date. Do you get? So there's no, if you tell me that is growth, I would say no, that's not growth. We just move away from our normal line and then how to now how to now fashion ourselves to what they want us to do. So that's that on that part. I want to talk about our history. Now, we're talking about the buildings and everything. So, again, I would relate it to the Danes. Denmark, and then those Scandinavian area, the Norway, because I really admire them a lot. Now, this is it. There's something about their building. Now, if they want to construct another building, they will make it look like what they've been doing since 1780 or whatever year it is. But now, we are building so many stuff that cannot even connect to our history. Now, a statement was made there. It said, as things changes, some things remain. So the things that remains, they are now looking like dirt because they are so dirty. They are so dirty. There's no plans to reconstruct it, to make it even look better, but the same way too. And all we can do is now what's it called? Collapse buildings that are supposed to serve as history and everything. So it doesn't make, to me, it doesn't make quite much sense. Our government should look into that. And the last thing I want to discuss about is yes, the election part. Now, about the women in election. So I think I'll go with you. I think apart from that, Madam, what's her name?
Alimot Supelewura.
Yes, and then Ransom Kuti, this woman, Fumilai Ransom Kuti. I don't see, there are very little vibrant women then. Very little. And this other first female lawyer, Stella Thomas or whatever her name is. So I think women should actually, imbibe that spirit of being in governance. Don't allow whatever. We are now we are equal. We've been equal. We are now equal. Whatever.
The society doesn't treat us as
equal. The reason
why
I'm saying that we are equal is the fact that our constitution now recognizes it. So we are now in a country whereby if you do anything, the woman is more powerful in this country.
Okay. Let me leave that.
Okay, let me leave it. Let me leave it there for now.
Leave it like that. Leave it like that. Leave it like that. Wait, leave it like that for now. Hello. Let's leave it like that for now because he has brought out so many issues now that if you are not careful, we may just get lost. Because my duty here is to ensure that we maintain a kind of arrangement whereby the opinions and thoughts can come. We can interject. We can have interventions. We can ask questions and have the questions resolved, whichever way. But if you raise too many of them at the same time, we may not be able to do justice to all of them. So, and that will not be too good. So what I will do is I'll invite our mommy. I know you just came in and it's like I'm being unfair, but the issues that are being raised now are beyond the level of some of these children. So, I mean, you're talking about styles of those days, the way they dress, the Lagos of those days, how they evolved and all that. And I think there's no other person in this room that's better qualified to discuss it than you. So I just want your opinion on some of these things now. Thank you very much,
ma'am. Let me stand. I'm so privileged to be part of this discussion. So privileged to be with all of you. Because the future is in your hands. And so we ought to be having this communication. I'm very interested in the fact that that gentleman there, what's your name? Nathaniel. Nathaniel is aware of our confusion, our state of confusion and contradiction. We are at a stage where we're talking about Africanism, Africanness. Have you looked at yourselves? Have you looked at Instagram? Have you looked in the news, at the news? Have you looked at how we're representing ourselves? Yes, we live in a global village, and it is good that we're taking things from one another. But did you notice that nobody is borrowing very much from us except the most fundamentally wonderful, productive things that will benefit them? Do you realize that? And we're borrowing the things that will tank us. Never mind the mistakes that we had made in the past. Perhaps you can correct this. And look at the country. I'm just coming from watching a film. And it's talking about marriage. And it's talking about relationships in Nigeria. And the film opens with the woman of the house being natural. And I was taken by the fact that being natural means being a little bit, what would you call it here? Local. That's a pejorative that we ourselves manufacture for ourselves. Our own thing is local. Anything we're doing is local. Now, I call it local because the hair was unkempt. And then the next scene came, and she was dressed in a wig, trestled down like this, looking so right? So elegant. Now, the thought came to me, what is inelegant about this hair? What's inelegant and what is unglamorous about this face? So we say we're Africans, and we don't want to be seen with our own hair. Confess. You don't think you look modern enough. You think it's local. I'm challenging you. In fact, I'm accusing you of further enslaving our psyche. And I don't think it's worthy of you. Because when the youth come, the one thing that the youth have is possibility. You are abandoning that possibility. You are not building the future. You're riding on the back of what has happened. And the thinking and the ethos of what went back, you don't like it. Then why don't you change it? Why follow on? Why must you think you are only beautiful when you have a wig on? For me, it's an ideological point. It's a political point. But you guys don't see it like that. That we can't appear in any glamorous situation, occasion, unless we look like Europe, unless we look Caucasian, and you're black. And black is beautiful. I have something on my phone. I think I'm going to open it, and I'm going to, I don't know whether they can, I'll read it to you, or you listen to it, about the history, about what is really beautiful. You are beautiful. When you put a wig on your head, you completely change the geography of your face. You are not what you see. And why people will go around looking strange like that, I don't know. And they convince themselves that that is beautiful. And you look at our, so I'm going to put that challenge to you. Because when we talk about what our fathers are doing, what our politicians are doing, you have abdicated your own, you are taking your own rights and giving it to these people. You should set your own agenda. Culture is dynamic, it's moving all the time. And people make culture. We are culture. Politicians, politics. Politics are not the bedrock of any society. Culture is. Culture is superior to all the nonsense that's going on. And it's because we're not paying attention to our culture, that's why we're flailing about as we are emotionally. We have compromised our own identity. And if you don't know your identity, you are lost in this world. We can't continue to be aping Europeans. My generation did that. It didn't pay. Why don't you change the paradigm? And you can change it. You're young, you're black, you're beautiful. I'll tell you why I know that it's possible. I was in Europe 40, 50 years ago, and I was in show business. And I was giving work. And I think some people know that I was famous then. Why was I famous? Because I didn't compromise. They say, what's your name? I say, my name's Taiwo. They say, well, what's your Christian name? I say, my name's Taiwo. Can I call you Tai? I say, no, you can't call me Tai. My name's Taiwo. I was more aggressive then. If you think I'm aggressive now, you should see what I was. That was the age when they killed Lumumba. My name is Taiwo. You know Taiwo? And you know Taiwan? They say, yes, yes, Taiwan, yeah. Take away the A and put O, Taiwo. Oh, Taiwo. Educate the world for God's sake. Turn it around again. The world, this black world, educated Europe, educated Greece. Get yourself an education, my dears. Then you have more confidence about where you come from. The inheritance that you have is enough to be proud of. So I said to them, if I can say a Welsh name, Llewellyn. Do you know Llewellyn? L-L-W-E-L. The spelling goes like this. And I can call Llewellyn, you can call Taiwo. And then I was successful. Not because I didn't relax my hair. Some of you who know my program will know I plaited my hair. National television, international television. The Oyibo couldn't count, they can't challenge me because I'm saying this is who I am. And they accept me for who I was. We are not telling people this is who we are. We have a mixture of this and a mixture of that and whatever. Look at how your girls are going around doing nyash. Now somebody tell me, are we short of nyash in Africa?
Oh, thank you very much, ma'am, for that very wonderful intervention. That was powerful, that was impactful.
Is that something we're short of in Africa? We are fearfully made. I'm over 80. I'm still flaunting my own yash around.
Thank you very much, ma. God bless you.
So sorry. I'm so sorry. I know I'm taking. You called me. You asked for it. He's talking about fashion, and very interesting. Fashion changes the world. Look at Instagram. Who is wearing a Ruambuba? What, darling?
They're using our tradition as costumes.
Exactly. As something of the past, as something whatever. You are condemning yourself to whatever it is. No, this is a conversation we should have. As I said, I am privileged. I am honored to be here today. Oh, I like the universe. You see, you will always be placed where you should be. I'm ordained to talk to you today.
I'll be bringing you back, Ma. Maybe towards the end of this program. But for now, I want to thank you very much for the intervention. It's been very, very powerful, very impactful, and very educative. We need to have more people like you around. I didn't make a mistake when I gave you the mic, and I'm happy. So let's quickly go to one of my...
Go sit down.
Yeah, one of my... You know, as Omotiwon told Dada, when you want to make demands from Dada, say, when you go about it, Omoluabi, Tonto, Togbeko, thank you very much. Mama is very generous. Mama is a good elder. That thing I just did now, somebody else will have put me in a black book forever. But Mama is generous, liberal in spirit.
No, that's our culture. That's the point I'm trying to make. Yes, that's our culture. Yeah. We can talk to one another and we understand. We don't have to be uncivil to one another. We don't have to disrespect one another. We don't have to be aggressive about anything. In other words, we are lyrical, we're poetical.
Yeah, poetical. I feel like telling Mr. German to consist another panel. I'm telling you. And you will be the chairman of that panel, and you will invite our thoughts and polish them for us. Thank you very much, ma'am. So, what have a question? Okay, yeah, go ahead.
I'm so sorry.
I have a question. Okay.
I want to ask a question.
You go first.
Thank you very much for this wonderful lecture.
Beautiful.
And your point is not disputed at all. I just wanted to ask a question. If, for instance, I feel like as the world is advancing, we too should advance. Because according to what he says, in terms of styles, dressing and all, if we are to maintain the kind of dressing or the kind of style it was then, many of us will be actually going up and down naked. Why? Because in places like the eastern part of the country, where people tie wrapper and wrapper on the top, other women wouldn't even wear anything on top. They'll just tie a wrapper and all. And I feel also that the culture in terms of styles and dressing is not completely off. Why? Because when you go to things like or events like Owambe, you will see the Yorubas, they dress like they are the ones. You get the way they dress, they represent their culture and everything. And also in terms of look, I feel like people want to be more beautiful, so they actually, they want to, like, we always want to be more beautiful. So as the world advances, we want to bring in things, or we want to make ourselves more beautiful. But in places, okay, let's talk about the fact that in countries like Brazil or foreign countries, most of them actually even adopt some of our clothes, like the adires and all. I think I watched some documentaries where they actually promote the Yoruba culture abroad. So I feel like it is not complete. I know what you're talking about in terms of styles, like going to party club with wearing over those kind of things. So, but I felt like, okay, we should, as the world is advancing, don't you think that these changes that we have is not really,
okay.
It's
we get the point. Let's do it like this. Mama Edidema. Look at us. Look at us. Look at Mama. Look at me. Does that not give you a good then we'll move on from there. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I honestly don't know what I want to say again. She already answered all these questions. She said something very profound. She said, create your culture, right? There's somebody called, he was here last year, Swedi Veshima Agema. He's Steve. everywhere you see Suwedi, he has the white and black thing on his neck. And he wears he carries his Steve identity everywhere. He takes it around the world. Yeah. So the question you asked, it kind of irked me, like, will you be comfortable? I think it's because we've been conditioned to think that the agbada does not fit into the office.
You can wear African dressings, but then he said agbada, that was why I specified.
Who puts a ruler or a marker on what is African enough for the office?
Comfortable, I don't say African.
Different strokes for different folks. If it works for him, then
okay. Can I answer a question?
Yeah. Thank you very
so
much,
Amarachi. You said, will you be comfortable?
You did well.
Do you realize that all of this still boils down to politics in a way? They brought their culture. They gave you rules to abide by their culture. They brought the coats and the socks and everything for because that's their tradition, because their culture is cold. We are hot over here. I see no reason why a child has to put on a coat and his socks on a hot Monday morning. But because rules of this is what they say you have to do, and Nigerian has this thing of they grow but they do not evolve. You're following laws based on, okay, they said this is what we have been following, we should follow that. You're following it blindly, you don't know how it affects you, how you're reacting to it. So I feel like Nigeria is just following based on, this is what we've been doing, we can't change it now, these are the laws, and this is what we have to do. Universities also have some ridiculous rules that you cannot, some lecturers will actually send you out if you're dressed on native, this is not a Friday, what are you doing in my class? So yes. So it's based on, I feel like it's based on the society around, how the society thinks. Because if I put on my attire and everyone around me else agrees to, let's put on this on a Monday morning, you coming in with your suit and tie, you're going to be the odd one out. You're going to be feeling left out. So it's not if you're going to be comfortable, it's on how everybody agrees to the culture, what everybody agrees the culture is.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me okay, let me society evolves. And Mama said, you create the culture. There's something called critical mass. And that is what happens when you don't wait for the whole society to line behind you. And you are chanting and little songs like in university in those days, and you think that everything will just suddenly happen. No. Mama has made a point that in your own space, in your own immediate sphere of influence, you can start a thing and it will catch on. See, let me tell you, the youth, as bad as some of us might think they are becoming, is not totally like that. In many of the even banks today, on Fridays, they dress down. Sometimes you wear African attire, and you are still as well.
I hear what you say.
They dress down. They dress down. Fine. And then they allow African attires in some working spaces. So that means that something has already happened. No, see, they dress down. Sometimes they wear, I have a child who is in UBA. Marina here, my son. He works there. On Fridays, I know what he wears. Sometimes he wears African fabrics. They didn't start like that. They started with this starch, stiff thing, color, everything, tie, but with time, some people began to let them understand that this is Africa, and we are Nigerians, and we have our sociocultural dynamics, and that the fact that we work for you in the band does not mean that everybody must always dress like that. So now, they allow it. If we expand the frontiers, in the places where we go, we can make positive change happen. When Labaf brought volunteers, look at the type of things they said they should wear. Labaf has branded the event, even with clothing. You now know that as a volunteer that you cannot come here with suit and tie and say you're volunteering for us. Possible. So, I'm using examples that are relatable. So I understand that it's not a big thing like that can't happen. Of course, it sure can happen. So who else wants to go?
Sorry. On Wednesday, RMD was there and he said something. He said, if you want to keep anything from Africa, put inside a book. I believe that Africa, especially Nigeria, has foolishly adopted the Western culture to the point that we believe that anything coming from them is totally acceptable. Now, you said something about we should be creative with our natural attire, trying to put it into art, or you also said so that, like, okay, as the world is developing, that we should also try to adapt with it. I believe that's the wrong mentality. I went to an event 2 weeks ago, and a lady was actually putting on our natural attire. Then, like, to be honest, the top part of the clothes Even without even bending down, I was able to see like part of her breast. But something happened, a bag fell, and she decided to just bend to pick. Could you believe that the two breasts came out? So to be honest, and you also stood up, you said we should check you and mommy. Like if you look at your attire that you promote our culture, truly. But this is only promoted by the adults in Nigeria. The youth ones don't promote it. Now my question is, if our adults now, I'm not praying, surely they're going to go to our ancestors, what would happen to the youth? Because the idea of the world is developing, let's adapt to the development. To me, it is totally a ridiculous idea.
It is ridiculous. Let me tell you, this one will interest you. A bad dress is a bad dress. I'll say it again. A bad dress is a bad dress. Whether put on by a European or an American or an African or anybody. A bad dress is a bad dress. I've been around for more than 60 years, and I've seen a manner of dressings, a manner of places. Sometimes I feel like weeping because of what people do in the name of dressing. Some of these things come from your upbringing. Get inside, Lawa. When people were all about this, our parents say, get inside, get inside. So they us, get inside, things like that. Because we were not allowed to go to the streets. Maybe if we had, I would not be dressing like this. Maybe I would have come and say, book festival, and I just come and be like a madman. But today is not happy because of our upbringing. And we also oriented ourselves. Look at the type of books we read, lectures we attended, films we were exposed to, sermons we even heard in churches. Those are the things that form you as a person. These things are you of changing the course of your life. They won't allow you to go that totally extreme to a place where your life becomes self-destruct. So you must watch it. In your own small space, you want to step out of your house. You look at yourself in the mirror. Am I dressing well? Will I be addressed well? Will people see me and be happy with me? Can I cut good deals the way I'm going? If I'm giving the mic to speak, will I represent the subject matter very well? Young people are watching me. Will they be happy to say, Baba address that? Or they will say, Agbayani. So things like that should be in your mind. And I said as critical mass. Small things. Go and read this book called The Tipping Point by what's the name of that guy now? Something Gladstone. He wrote that book and was talking about the fact that there's a point at which things tip. Whether you know it or not, people pick it up and it becomes a very big thing. Sometimes it can be out of your own control. So if you dress well and you are known to be like that, there's a measure of respect that comes to you. People are looking at you. Some, you are models to them. Some, you are mentors. They may not come to you, but they are watching you. What you say matters. What you do carries weight at that particular height, and you must watch it. Once you start doing that like that, you will see that other people will follow, and you can transfer society, really. So who goes next? Okay.
That question that he said that the youth of today, that we do promote culture, but I think that, to me, I know that the youth of today, we promote culture. Why? Because we have a lot of fashion. At least you can see she's putting on Ankara right now. And most of us, actually, we try to go, let's say, most of us want to go natural. You get, most youth of nowadays do not like to wear makeup anymore. Most of us like to go out with our natural hair. Are you getting? We are taking pride in all these things. If you go on Instagram, for instance, or some social media, you see that people are now taking care of their natural hair, the natural faces. And also, if you watch out for things that youth wear these days, they always wear a touch of Ankara in it. We have fashion, she's a fashion designer. Apart from this, I normally see her wear Ankaras. Guys, even guys in my school, even the school I teach, so that when we're having cultural days, you see them on their cultural attire. Like, we promote it. Are you getting? Apart from that, if you go to, I'm speaking for myself, at home, I have a lot of cultural dresses at home, like the normal clothes we wear as an Igbo lady, as an Igbo girl. Are you getting all these things? And so even if our older generation go, I feel like we'll still be able to maintain that culture. In fact, to me, I feel like we're the one who is going to even promote our cultures more than the older people even did, because we promote our culture.
Now, let me ask a question. Let's still on the floor. I'll get back to you. Remind me or pinch me. Are you reacting to what's on the floor, or are you raising a new issue entirely?
want
there's a
to-
flow I'm trying to,
I want
out.
to react to what is on the floor, and then I want to also go back to what she talked about,
Okay.
Miss Williams. What
Okay,
she
can you,
talked
can you
about.
make those things very brief?
Of course.
Because when she's pinching me and I'm crying, you won't be able to rescue me. Quickly.
Okay, so first of all, my name is, good afternoon. My name is Abimbola. So what I want to talk about is, first of all, we, each and every one of us, we are the change that we want. First of all, if we realize that we are the change that we want, then that's when we first of all settle most of these things we're talking about. He said that that youths do not want to, that is the adults that are promoting our cultures and all of that these days. Now, I have many friends that make adire. They make adire and sell it for a living. My sister, she makes adire. Then I have friends that do it too. Now, first of all, I have a teacher in school that any day of the week, that is a lecturer, his name is Mr. Cotton, he can wear whatever he likes. Then I challenged him one day that, sir, why do you always wear native on Monday and sometimes on Friday you will not tie? His answer was, how can you tell me how to dress? Who made it so? Now, personally, if I see someone putting on a native on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, I make jest of the person. Personally, I'll be like, Kilele Kosi. I do it too. That is why I said we are the change that we want. When I first of all accept that our cultural dresses, we can wear it any time of the week, any day of the week without being criticized, then when I accept that and I stop making jest of people that are putting on those kind of dresses during the week, then that is a change on my own path. Then I can be able to preach it to any other person that wants to talk about it. But when I am here, putting on my English wear Monday to Sunday and abusing somebody that is trying to put on our cultural wears, then who am I to talk about it? So that is what I really want to.
So I wanted to add to what she has.
Yeah, fine. Good one. Do you know Dr. Mrs. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala?
Yes.
Do you know how she dresses? Pick it up from there.
So I'm picking it up from there. She embraces our culture. She takes it even abroad and stands her ground on it. My question goes to your generation. I hope you're not offended by my question. Okay. So when I raised my topic, I first started with I am a Lagosian. Both my parents are Lagosians. And I said the documentary cleared my eyes to some things I've been told and some questions I asked, and nobody has been able to give me answers. Your generation brings to our generation, you said youths, they don't want to grow and we take the negative side and all that. Your generation brings to our generation only the negative part of the history. You do not promote, even in schools, you do not promote the positive part of what has happened. We have things like, oh, the whites came, they stole this, what happened, this and this. Majority of the positive things, like the first woman in Lagos, first woman to achieve this, first man to achieve this are Nigerians, are not as promoted as the negative parts. So which boils me down to dressing. Is what I see, I emulate.
Fine. Mama, Papa, thank God you are here. You heard what the children have said. But before I come to you, let me quickly say that, you see, one of the things that living long enough does to you is that it gets you to a point where you look at the past and you feel like, past here, they're gone. And then you look at the future, you look at the present day and like, and you are going like that. Mama, you can relate to what I'm talking about. So if you say that we do not promote the positive ones as much as possible, to some extent I will say yes. But don't also forget that as we were giving back to you people and we were growing up with you, we also saw things that you did that were not too good and that made us feel bad. And made us feel like, you know. So it's and thank God you also said that we promoted some good ones, like the old good values. Mama, the Omoluabi concept. Papa, you know these things. So that we also lived at that time, and we saw part of what we call the glorious Nigeria. We saw Nigeria was just evolving from post-colonialism, and we saw Nigeria was being set up, you know, which of course was hijacked along the way, but which at that time was still like very good. So you understand that it's a mixed bag. You can't, these are the debates that are going everywhere in the world. You know, even in America, they got to a point now they're asking themselves, where would they go from here? Because the people that started America are not the same people that are running it now. And it's not the same people they will leave the bad thing to when they are out of office. So it's a general debate that's going on across the globe. But for your awareness of that, I want to thank you very much that you could even go that far in your thoughts, even as a young person. Thank you very much. Yeah. Who do I give the mic to?
I would say...
Okay, let me give it to Baba. Baba, the challenge is this. Because I've come to understand that we elders have so much to speak. But remember that, sir, with due respect, that Igbami or Awa, Kosaye, Igbami, so let me share so that these children can also have their own. Mama knows what I'm talking about. And I'm not indicting you, me, Tobe. So,
how many minutes do I have?
1 minute, okay, 2.
2
3
minutes.
Somebody has begged for 3 for you. You want to? Are you the moderator? Are you the chairman?
Okay.
Let take 5 minutes. I'll be watching you.
No, I want to let's start. I've been hearing how do we wear agbada for this. Agbada is not the only Yoruba dress Yoruba people have. There is bariye. It is shorter than agbada. There is buba. It is shorter. All right. Now, agbada. Look at the spelling. You will find B and D consonants in B and D. You go to the Middle East, you find B, G, D, because they cannot pronounce B, G, they cannot say B. So they separate both of them. And then Hebrew has beged for garment, plural, bugadim. So that's agbada where it's coming from. Now, interestingly, Hebrew now use that BGD for boged. A boged is an alagbeda. Can you see agbada, alagbada, alagbeda, bugadim, boged? Far away. What do they mean by that? You know what they call afawaraja? Con men try to dress what? Well, to feel that you are in the presence of a what? A respectable person. But afawarajani. Well, I'm just, please, you said 2 minutes.
Yes, sir.
I had told some television people, don't invite me to your studio if you cannot give me 1 hour.
Wow.
No, listen. Excuse me. Young people or anybody. There are some things in this world you cannot do in a hurry.
I know.
There are some things in this world you cannot do in a hurry. We are talking about what we want our country to be. At independence, everybody was saying, we're a country in a hurry. We must catch up America in 10 years. 1960, we're a country in a hurry. We must catch up America in 10 years. Have we caught them up? Please, any one of you here, slow and steady does what? So, there's no time. Meet me, take my address, invite me to your school, invite me to your church, and we'll have it.
Wow.
Because, no. Because there is something to teach you. There's something I have discovered. Huh? You are mentioning Ngozi Okonjo. Ngozi Okonjo was born in Ibadan in our school. Our father was principal of our school. Ngozi. Her mother was teaching at St. Anne's. Her father was in boys school where I was. Now, Ngozi's name, Ngozi, you get to Nairobi and you hear of Kiongozi, director. So I joke in my house and say, Ngozi is Kiongozi of a World Trade Organization. Ngozi, Nkuzi, Negus. From Negus in Ethiopia to Nkosi, Chaka in South Africa. When are you going to please? When are you going to have patience to learn all this? When you are giving me 2 minutes? No, you are cheating yourself.
Okay, sir. Put your hands together for Baba. Thank you very much, sir. One of the things that distinguish a very good elder from just any other one is that he understands the mood of the moment and he can play up to it. I know Baba is a bundle of knowledge. Each time I engage Baba, man yoni. But I know that we may not have the opportunity here. Don't worry, sir. We'll go and do our own sparring when we are finished. And I'll drop the mic. God bless you, sir. Okay, yeah, I promised I was going to give you the mic. And I'd like to make it brief. Even Baba helped us by making it brief. So come and try. Take my mic. Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Tokwe, and I'm really enjoying this discussion. So I want to really talk about our culture in general. The dressing part of it, I feel, is one of the minority, comparing to the maybe religion and all that. In our movie, we picture like all this Shango, Ogun as negative. You cannot, like me, my mom would tell me, talk about Ogun is this and that. I don't really know the story, and I don't really want to know it because of what I've been hearing about it. So if you want to like embrace this culture in totality, it is like Baba said, it is not a day job. We start from, firstly, from the minority, maybe the clothes, we change our attires, and make us know what Ogun is, its real definition. Not what our mother or the white people are painting it. Ifa, God of wisdom. I'm just knowing that Ifa is God of wisdom. I cannot, as a Christian, I cannot go and consult any Ifa person like, they will say, no, you are a devil. You are evil. So this thing is something that we cannot just start, like Baba said now, he said he used to listen to some things in church that, I'll preach, like if you're a good person, you go to church, you listen to, can you go to an Ogu person and ask for advice? You can't, because of the kind of picture they've painted it. So this is what I have to say.
There's a question over there, sir. Yeah?
A question, a comment. Okay, 2 minutes.
Good morning, Abi. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Eniola. So I just want to talk about the African dressing stuff. So I'm a fashion designer. I make adire and outfits and all. So, but there are different outfits for different occasions, right? Now he's talking about the Agbada stuff. So I cannot say because I want to continue maintaining my culture, or I want to continue maintaining my culture, then I'm going for a sports event, and then I will carry Agbada and go for the sports event. There is an outfit to go for sports. So if it is a wedding, a traditional wedding, and you wear Agbada, it is appropriate, and you are still maintaining your culture. So we are now in a modernized world. Things have changed. The world has moved on. So because you are trying to maintain your culture doesn't mean you shouldn't know the appropriate outfit for an occasion. That's just what I want to say.
Thank you very much. That's a good one. Sir, give me the mic first. Okay. I surrender that right to hold on to the mic for you to speak because of who you are. Shoto?
No special.
I should not do that. Okay.
No special favor.
Mama said no. Mama said I should not do that. Okay, come, bring the mic. Okay, I have one.
The only reason I raised my hand is that I had to leave. And I've been blessed by these conversations. Thank you, Baba, for letting people know that if we are to learn, we are to listen. And that we should plumb the depth of experience. I don't think we're realizing that. All that glitters, they think is gold. And we're all chasing all the sparkling. The aged people now are invisible. And they're losing, as you say. They don't know what they're missing. People should be sitting at your feet and mining you for ideas, for what is past, because we are nothing without our past. And our future really is prepared by what we do now, by the present. But it's a gift. That's why it's called a present. That's what we're given. The other thing I would like to say is that from all that we're saying, I'd like to admonish our people that to the knowledge that in Nigeria, one of the reasons we're having problems in Nigeria, we're very bright people. We're some of the brightest people in the world, but we lack imagination. And you're going to challenge that. Because if we have imagination, we won't be in this trouble. If you have imagination, you won't raise 20, 30 million to go to England. You would know what to do with 20, 30 million in Nigeria if you had imagination. So the youth are lacking in imagination, big time. Einstein says imagination is superior to intelligence. We're bright. There's no doubt about that. We don't have to debate the fact that we're intelligent people. But we're full of entitlement mentality. So much so that we like things to be handed to us on a silver platter. We don't need to do anything. We're a consumer society. And consumerists don't have to think. They just have the money. They just have to get the money. That's why we can depend solely on oil, where we have the resources. They've just discovered lithium in Nigeria. Lithium. That's what batteries are made from. That will make us, if people are not greedy and are creative, are imaginative, it could turn our fate. It could turn Nigeria into a very, very wealthy nation. But don't hold your breath, because our people are just barely greedy. And not just greedy, we're individualistic. It is me, myself, and I. We do not think of the collective. And you are not going to survive, however clever you think you are, if you are merely looking after yourself and not thinking about the collective. Europe is nothing. You see how they're allowing your children to go there? They don't have the skilled people to do their work. It is the second slavery. So if we had any imagination, having come out from one slavery, you would think that we'll develop our own country, develop our own nation. But no. We get our resources and we go and give to them to develop their countries. So challenge me about this imagination and intelligence something. I'd like us to go and develop imagination. Creativity is absolutely marvelous. It's not in just being able to have the gift of the gab or to paint or to do this, that, and the other. Creativity is turning yourself around. Making the impossible possible. And as I said, I challenge you again. What you have is possibility. You can make anything happen. Develop some imagination, and you will not have any fear about the future. So you don't have everybody unemployment. Government is not creating jobs. It is not the government's responsibility to create jobs. The government is a facilitator and enabler to enable all of you to bring something out and create things in this country, and the government can then protect your inventions and creations. It is the people who build the country, not politicians. Yeah. All of it, we're hanging on our fate on politicians. I don't know. We're suffering because the people have surrendered their faith to these charlatans. So the youth develop some gumption, I beg.
Thank you very much, ma. That is a parting shot from Mama, and it's a very good one. Now, I want to leverage on that. I want to embargo any aspect of that film you watched that spoke of the past, or that is even speaking of the present. I want to try and mentally match you into the future. So whoever is ready for me to speak on the future of what Lagos, Nigeria, and Africa will become in the next few years is the person I will give my microphone to. I'll give you a few seconds to boot, like computers, and then we'll give you the mic when you are ready. The future. The future. Thank you very much, ma. God bless you, ma. The future. The future. Number one.
All right.
2 minutes.
Okay.
Okay. Then
So about the future.
Yeah.
Now we've seen our history, we've noticed our past, and we see where we are presently. So now talking about in the aspect of culture, so I believe the other time I used Agbada as just symbol because we have different materials. You get? So I think we should, embrace our materials more, because the white people then their past was they used their materials in the past. Presently they are still using their same materials, and of course in the future, because they are proud of what they have. So we should be proud of what we have. So we should use our materials in the future. And another thing I want to talk about is that yes, we should try and stop the habit of cultural day, because every day should be our culture day, our cultural day. Because if we really want to embrace our culture, we should make every day our cultural day. It is not done in Europe as cultural day, because their cultural day is every day. So I think that's one of the way we can, grow.
Yeah, thank you very much. That's a good challenge. But before I call on the next speaker to intervene on this issue, I quickly like to say that Africa has a problem with culture now, because unfortunately we had the slave trade era and we had colonialism. When a group of people faces such challenge, if they do not make any effort to do what they call renaissance, they will remain forever backward. And once the cultural angle is sabotaged, every other thing will fall apart. It's just a matter of time. It's a pity we don't have time to do a lot of expositions on these issues. They are deep, serious issues. But in scratching it on the face, I would rather like to now call on somebody who I think has a quick response to the issue of culture and the future. You want to go first?
All right. Looking at the culture and the future, I think the first thing we need to do is to inculcate the habit of moderation. When I was making a reference to a lady I saw the other time, truly she was putting on the African attire, but the style is totally bad. So if we can go for the idea of moderation in everything we do, that is truly the world is changing, we should change along with the world, but we should also be mindful of what is called moderation. Okay, and also in the aspect of entertainment, I don't know this particular lady very well, maybe I don't know how to pronounce her name, Arya Star. Yes, that is the Arya Star, Jesus. Whenever you see the girls' performance, it is totally F9. That is not moderation. And to be honest, everybody wants to go to the show. Wow, Arya Star is singing, but what about, do we consider our dressing? There was a particular show that this particular girl had in Nigeria. I guess, I don't know, maybe it's in Lagos. In the crowd, there was a father who carried maybe 3 years old or 4 years old girl on a show, and they were dancing. The guy is looking at the girl, like the Arya Star was performing. Do you think that in future, the girl don't want to be like, both in appearance, in behavior and everything? And we want the better future for the Nigeria.
Thank you very much.
And the second thing is the teaching. This one is particular. This one stopped in 2012 in Nigeria. The teaching of history. Many people don't know our history. To be honest, I remember I was in SS1 and that was the end of history, 2012. When I was in SS2, there was no history again in secondary school, especially in government school. And that is why many of us don't even know the importance of our culture.
This particular word has never left my mouth, Kanebonu. That was what I heard. That was when someone taught me in English SS1. And I really want to know more of Kanebonu because I've learned the history of Kanebonu. So I believe if our government can build back that system of teaching history in our secondary, especially in all schools. In all schools, to be honest, you see that the idea of going for total Western culture will be curbed, like it's going to be reduced. I was telling someone like 2 days ago is that many of us says as the world is changing, let's also change. Okay, girls, ladies that are putting on wig, woman hair. If tomorrow the world changes from woman hair to low cut, will you change?
Okay.
That's the question now. Because if you are saying the world is changing, you want to change. It will get to the point that the Western will cut their head off. And we want to change, we do what?
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think he's advocating, he's coming up with ideas on limits and moderations, setting of boundaries and all the rest of them. If a society exists without proper boundaries being set and proper limits put in place, people will end up living below the level of animals. There are certain things that make you human. And that is not just the ability to eat and drink and think and do things. It's also in the type of things that do. That shows that of a truth, you are of a human superior intelligence. And that's what makes you a part of the human race. Once you start losing some of those elements, you're no longer quite different from the baboon in the zoo. So moderation is very important. Setting of boundaries is very important. Limits and the rest of them are also very key. Over to you.
So, I believe that there are consequences to everything that happens to human beings. Because what we are deliberating on today, what we are discussing today, is the consequence of colonialism. And I believe that the change that we want to see is happening already. Although slow, but then we are going to get there. Because we can see what they are doing with boo-boo these days. Women are wearing boo-boo to any occasion. We carry this thing for a head. Sure, you get what I'm saying? So it's slow, but then I know we are going to get there. And also, concerning the idea of Cultural Day, I don't buy the idea that Cultural Day should be cancelled in schools. Okay. Because students wear uniforms to school, right? You don't want them to cancel uniforms. You said Cultural Day. Where did you do Cultural Day? They don't do Cultural Day, National Cultural Day now.
The term Cultural Day is used in companies, organizations, non-governmental organizations. So they tend to want to have a cultural day because every day they are going to offices on suit and tie,
Well, even if it's still about companies, even if it's still about companies, you already said that we have different native attires. You get what I'm saying? We could wear our native attires anytime during the week, and Cultural Day could still be celebrated for you to wear that special native attire that you wear to for traditional meetings, like your agbada, your danshiki with everything. You get what I'm saying?
Let me do a bit of let me serve as a kind of an umpire on this, because obviously we have dialectical issues. The first one is that culture is not just about how you dress. It's the totality of everything that makes you who you are. How you think, how you eat, how you dress, how you write, how you read, what you do, everywhere that you go. That is your total identity as a member of the human race. And that is what speaks for you a lot of time. That's what people see before they get to know the inner you. So, if you have a day set aside for culture, it may not be a bad thing. Because even United Nations have certain days when they highlight and bring to the fore issues around particular themes and issues across the world. So if, for instance, you've been enslaved for about 430 years, according to African history, and you are just coming out of that now to start a renaissance, remember that you will not suddenly get there. It's not by sudden flight. The same people that are captured and enslaved for 430 years spent a lot of years preparing and actually carrying it out. And you can't just walk away as if nothing had happened. So a lot of your heritages have already been sabotaged. So it will take you, like coming out of the shadows, little by little, to now get to a point where it becomes a totally embedded thing with you. So if their approach is to start having Cultural Day, one day in a year or a semester or whatever it is, and they can promote culture in its different variegated forms, then I think it's a good thing. But like he also said, culture should normally go beyond what you do in a day. Because if all you do is just celebrate culture on one day and every other day you are not doing anything about culture, you will not achieve the right result that you should get. So I think there is need for balance. Now, it also depends on where you want to go. If you choose to do culture every day, it's okay by you, by way of consciousness and the rest of them. But if you choose to have side occasions and days set apart for certain things, then it's all welcome. So long as the goals will be together to establish a superior culture for the society in which we live.
I am also of the opinion that we should learn our indigenous languages, because you can't want to promote your culture and not know how to speak your language. Many youths of these days cannot. You ask them, can you speak? I don't understand Yoruba, but which state are you from? I'm from Osun State. You get what I'm saying? You tell people, I don't know, but then we should speak our languages. We should be proud of our languages.
That's a good one. In my house,
opinion, sir,
in my house, hello, in my house, I speak Yoruba to my children. And it's deliberate. Not because I can't speak English, but because I come to understand that the native tongue is that which guarantees the best of their human expressions. You want to speak English. You were born in Nigeria. You were born as an Omeko. The very way you were wired by God linguistically is by that language of Yoruba that your people have been speaking. Go and find out. And then the way you learn, your instincts to learning, to listening, to speaking, are much more fundamental to the language that you were born with from the very beginning of your creation. Every other thing you had to eat are things that you later now cultivate. And sometimes which may not have the perfect mastery of unless you go to some supernatural realms to look for them. So the reason is this. The home front is the place where they get the most of their traditional values, not in schools. They go to school for a few hours, they come back home, they spend most of the time with us as parents. And at any rate, if we speak Yoruba to them at home, in English, in schools they will speak English. In churches, it's English. Everywhere they go is English. So if I speak English to them in the home, where they eat and work and play and sleep, then we probably will have children. And they speak very good English. And let me just tell you this to you. Professor Shenka said many years ago on radio, I heard it. He said that if you are not proficient in your own indigenous language, it is doubtful whether you can master things in any other language. And I've discovered it's true. In this country, there was a professor, Babatunde Fafunwa, Commissioner for Federal Minister for Education, I think he's late now. He started this revolution in schools called mother tongue teaching. And that thing worked to a point because the teachers now understood that you need to develop the children right from primary school to understand and appreciate the languages in which they were born. And from there, you can begin to build more serious things academically in evolving them into what they should be in the future. Let me leave that for now. I don't know. Okay. Yeah, you were raising your hand the other time. Let me. Yeah, please come. And I'm sorry I delayed you.
So yes, I don't know who was talking about the cultural day that's it's supposed to be promoted every day. I said I would say yes because I can see, and I would say no to that again because a lot of schools now are, or if you see their Friday wears, they are now wearing Ankara. So they are trying to inculcate it. I have a uncle, and is it a uncle or whatever? He stays in Port Harcourt. You can, his children, his wife, she's an Akwa Ibom, and he is a Yoruba. You cannot hear my uncle speak Yoruba. He's going to tell you that, no, you have to behave like a white man. I'll be like, huh. His children cannot speak either Akwa Ibom or Yoruba. I was trying to write my CV in front of him. My first name is Sandra. My other name is Temiloluwa. So I added Sandra Temiloluwa Alabi. He was like, why will you put Temiloluwa? When they see your CV and they see Temiloluwa, what do you expect the white people to say? I removed it when he left. I added it back because I love the name. When I tell people, okay, I'm Temiloluwa, they'll be like, are you the only one that have God? I'll be like, yes, that's my name. So I think that as much as we are trying to promote the culture, there are still some people out there that are not doing anything about the culture. They are bringing the white colors people, the white people's culture into our culture. They don't cherish our culture. So as much as we see that, okay, these days, I feel we still have to celebrate it every day and in schools. Yes, that's the only thing I've...
Okay, I wanted to add something in terms of promoting the culture. And that is one thing that we missed here, is the music. Yeah, because while we were watching the documentary, I had a lot of Yoruba songs. And most of us, we were singing along. So if you look at then the music that were being sung then and then now, there's a difference. Because yeah, even though we sing a little bit of the Yoruba inside the song, there's still something that goes with it, you get. But I feel like those songs that they used then were very, at least it was good. It was like the real Afro music compared to now. But however, these days as well, I see people actually still singing, you know, with the flutes I was hearing that day, they're promoting their culture. So I think that we should also, in addition to learning our language, learn how to use it in maybe not just only speaking it, but in putting it into words, to do poetry, to do music, and that would be better. That's my own opinion on promoting.
And that's a very
culture.
sound opinion. Now, here are these two songs. London Bridge is falling down, falling down, falling down. London Bridge is falling down, my dear lady. That's song one. Take the next one. Òjò ń rọ̀, ṣeré nulẹ̀, má wọnú òjò, kí aṣọ rẹ má bà tútù, kí òtútù má ṣàmú ẹ. Two songs. You say, I become music director now. Okay. Which of the songs relates to you as an African? The second one. Let me rest it like that. Any other comment?
Yes, sir. I just want to talk about the language thing that she also talked about. I was about to say it when she just said, I was like, oh, God bless you. So this language stuff, in schools now, they've cancelled Yoruba. When I was writing my work, so there's this habit we had then in school. When our Yoruba teacher is coming, all of us go down, prepare, say, okay, now time to sleep. It's time for us to sleep. So when we're writing Yoruba exam, what we'll just do is mini, manimu. I choose A, I choose B. Even if it is not the correct answer. Why? Because they actually did not make us take that thing, that subject, that Yoruba. They didn't make us take it serious. They didn't make us take it serious. They made it look as if, in fact, now, if you want to apply to, maybe you want to get an admission into any school, and then you want to write JAMB, Yoruba, Abi, any other language is not important. If you don't have English language is always the first. If you don't have mathematics, and if you don't have maybe literature, if you are doing in English, literature in English. So like, in schools, we are not taking our language seriously, which we need to consider. Because school, we are going to school to learn. So if we are going to school to learn, we should be able to go to school to learn our language, not just other people's language. I mean, in China, look at them, for example. Yes, they speak English, but they don't speak English more than their language. In their movies, they speak English, but they don't speak English more than their language. So please, we need to look into this language thing. Because even me sometimes, don't speak Yoruba,
okay. Can I quickly bring the mic? Please bring the mic. Bring the mic first. Bring the mic first. The idea is not to mute your opinion, but to create a semblance of order. Now, hear this one. When you, as a Yoruba person, have lived on the earth to a time when you can have education, in what language do you naturally think? In Yoruba. In Yoruba. In Yoruba. What you now do in English is to now like reconstruct it. I am telling you. The reason why you didn't understand it very well is that you spent probably all your life going to schools where you were taught English. But the average Yoruba person thinks in Yoruba, processes information in Yoruba, listens in Yoruba. When he's now talking and he's saying English, you'll not be translating them. That is why, and I'll prove it to you. That's okay, let me tell you this one. Which is correct? English now. My father is the second in command to the king. Baba mi ni igbákejì ọba. Did you get something from there? I'll move on. Who is the next speaker?
So, sir, what I want to talk about is not language, but this is what I want to talk about. Now, how many of us knows what we, what English should I use, what we align with? When I mean align with, I, personally, let's say, if things are going the way it should go in our country, I meant to be worshiping Okun. So, I know that for sure. So how many of us know what we align with? There are people that come from the lineage of kings. There are some people that come from the lineage of chiefs because they pass it on. Now, some people come from the lineage of Balogun. Some, they come from the lineage of herbalists, not Babalawo, herbalists. Some people come from the lineage of hunters. Some come from the lineage of farmers, fishermen, and many, many more like that. How many of us know what lineage we are from? We are not up to 10. And when you ask, they believe that these things are fetish. That is what they made us believe. Now, this will take me back to what she wanted. There was something she talked about that we didn't emphasize on. Now, she spoke about the kingship in Lagos, like our kings and the obas, that then they used to pay homage to the kings, I mean the presidents. But now, reversed is the case. The obas pay homage to the presidents. Now, this is what I think, and this is what I noticed. You know, the way kings are being installed, at least I am schooled in our culture to the basic survival level in our culture. So, the way kings are installed, when a king dies, they make consultations, that's the Ifa priests, or whatever it is in each and every one of us, different cultures. They make consultations, and they know who is the next person in line for the kingship. But these days, this is what I see when they want to select kings. They do not make consultations. Most of the Ifa priests that we have now, they are Ifa Eke. I'm sorry to say. That is the Ifa priest we have. Most of them that we have now, they do not make consultations. They take bribes, and when they want to put king, they say, okay, let us install him. That is what Ifa says. That is why we have what we have now. That people do not enthrone the right kings that are in line for kingship. They just put anybody that they just think that, okay, he has money, he's going to take care of us, he's going to take care of me. When he's on the throne, I'm going to get something, I'll be a chief and all of that. And this was not the way it is. Now we have some of our ancestral rulers that are still, yeah, they are still pure, like maybe the Oni of Ife, the one that died recently, Alafin, and the Aujale. Then few of them like that. In Lagos today, I don't know if you remember the issue of the NSAS then, that they said the Oba of Lagos ran away from the palace. Why would you run away from the palace as a king? A king is meant to instill orders on the land. Why would you run away when people are coming? And those people that had the guts to enter into a palace and sit on the throne of a king and take his staff and put on his crown, what guts do they have? They already knew that those things, they are just there. Nobody can put on the crown of a king. If things are going the way it should go, you cannot put on the crown of a king. Very soon, I won't be surprised. Lastly, very soon I won't be surprised, because I know Aruba is one of the festivals that is still very sacred these days. I won't be surprised if, as time goes on, somebody that is not a virgin starts carrying the Igba and nothing happens to the person. I won't be surprised. I'm going to rest here.
Somebody said that.
finally, I just want to say, bringing it back to Lagos State, the birth of a city of style, I just want to say, contrary to the way other states, especially Ibadan is regarded as a well of culture. And in things that, in our culture, when people say things and do things that we regard as local, they say, oh, these Ibadan people have come again. Because we know, we see it as Ibadan people are ones that they won't desert their culture for the sake of modernization. They are proud of their culture, what they eat, the way they speak, the way they dress. Until now, we see that even the houses has not changed. So I feel like if we as Lagosians and the people we welcome into Lagos, if we change our mentality into the way we see our culture, then we can move forward. Thank you.
Now, before I go on to call my next speaker, I would like to say that, I will remind us that this particular panel and the session it is dealing with is actually to celebrate all the volunteers in Labaf 2023. Because the organizers felt that it will not be nice if every other person comes to town and gets fed with the cultural offerings that have been on display since Monday, and the volunteers that have done so much to put it together are sent away empty-handed. So what they've done in their wisdom, in their liberal and magnanimous wisdom, set aside a day, which happens to be today, so that the volunteers can be appreciated. They can have their own session. You can see that the panelists here are, I am the only one that's a super volunteer among them. You know, so, and you can see that the people that started the program with us are mostly volunteers, and many of them are still around. So it's just to remind us that it's their day. And if you're a volunteer and you feel like saying a few things right now, even though some of you have spoken before, it's still open. You still have some more time to deal with that. While you are still thinking of what the issues will be, let me quickly say that this panel leveraged on a theme that was done by the Kizos on Lagos, and that we saw Lagos on parade. What we saw was something of Lagos of yesterday, Lagos of today, with a little glimpse of what Lagos may become tomorrow. So most of what we saw were quite historical stuffs, and they were very, very educational, and they will be very good for people who were being exposed to things like that for the very first time. For those of us who have been privileged to have watched other documentaries and have read other materials and have had discussions on Lagos in some other fora, this also becomes a very useful reminder for us, and to that, and to Labaf, and to God, we are very grateful. So as we begin to conclude, I would like to see if there's any other person in this house who feels like there's something he or she would like to say, but has not been privileged to do so, before we begin to round off our thoughts in this session. I can see you indicating your desire, so please come and take the mic. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. So I don't mean to disagree with all the thoughts we have expressed so far, but I would say that one of the challenges we have in our culture is redundancy. The inability of our local ideas, our culture, to keep up with the changing times. So I feel like the Yoruba culture particularly is very moral, very, very moral. So we are usually focused on things like individual well-being, family structure, and the likes, but very little innovation, very little pursuit to change the world like that. So someone pointed China as an example. Now, the Chinese culture is very innovative. From scratch, children are taught, from infants, children are taught to build things, to innovate in their local culture, in that language. But it doesn't happen like that with Yoruba culture. We are mostly trying to build children into specific boxes. Like, my children should follow this pattern of thought, not to explore their own ideas, not to try to, I don't know, I know we have Agbede in Yoruba, they are the innovative ones, but their structure, their building is limited to ironworks and the rest. Nothing like trying to create expansive cultures, expansive structures, things that can actually change the society, things that will cause people to want to speak Yoruba language because they are using that language to think, to build new things. We can't keep expecting the world to change into the Yoruba culture when we are actually dragging the world back. The English language is popular now because it is what people have been using to think for a few hundred years. But it's not the same with Yoruba. We don't really give the world that opportunity to share our culture because we are not exactly innovating anything. So that's all I have to say.
Now, let's do it like this. The aspect you brought out now is a very important one. And I agree with all my heart with the thoughts that came from you concerning the subject matter. And I also like to say that one of the reasons why Yoruba man had that problem, because I'm Yoruba, I can understand that very well. One of the reasons why we had that problem is that if you look at our history, it's like we started as a boxed up people. We were not cosmopolitan. We want to thank God for Lagos. Because Lagos gave a face, a global face, to the phenomenon called Yorubaism. If not for six centers like Lagos, only God knows what will have happened to the entire southwest part of Nigeria. I'm devoting myself and my fellow human beings in the southwestern part. The reason is that if you look at the history, we see that over time we have identified ourselves in different names. The Jeshas, the Egbas, the Ibanos and all that. And we have had people who were leaders at community levels and at the level of kings, of kingdoms, empires and the rest, who created their own domains and ruled those places and did not have much to do with the global platform. At best, kingdoms like Benin, Oyo and a few others made some attempts to reach out. Some even went as far as Dahomey in those days. But never went much beyond such places. The advantage of that is that they were able to keep in purity the things that make them Yoruba people. But the disadvantage, one of them rather, is that they were not able to get off that confinement or space into a larger community of people. So that became a problem. And you now understand why Lagos is celebrated. Lagos is the human face, the public face, so to speak, of the nation. There is no center that I know in Nigeria today that can tell me that it has the prominence of Lagos. None. Even the name itself is known across the world. So, and one of the things that made that happen is that there was that cosmopolitan concentration of people. Like we have said before, people came from a lot of places. They came to do commerce, they came to trade, they came to tour, some later intermarried, some established new abodes for themselves, and they were able to move on. You can't have a society that is not open to outsiders develop that way. They say Lagos is the place for all people. You even say Ekogbo, which is the next part of it. But the truth is that you want to find very few places in the world, apart from even New York that are really, really like Lagos. That has helped us. But one advantage of that closeness is that we did not totally lose that which made us a particular class of people. Because as a society moves from one point to another, it is inevitably we lose some of the original things that made it who it is in the course of the movement. So I think we are fortunate that if you go to any part of Yoruba land now, somehow there will be development. Look at Ogun. I come from Ogun, I know Okuta for instance. The Okuta we had about 10 years ago is not what we have today. Because the contiguity factor, the fact that Lagos borders Ogun has helped Ogun to a very large extent. Developments are taking place in Ogun. There are probably not have been there for Lagos. Issues have come up that have had to be resolved in places like Ogun. The political sphere has become more vibrant because of the influx of people that move from Lagos to Ogun. The population of Ogun has gotten better. It has increased. And a lot of places are still same, but they still retain their original identity in terms of what they were from the beginning. So it is a mixed bag of issues. And it depends on your dimension. It's very different when we look at that there. What's happening here? And I come to look at there and say, so it depends on where you're coming from, your background, your orientation, that sometimes help to interpret things that you see and go to these places. Let me leave for now and see whether because one of the things a chairman does is to ensure that the meeting is conducted in another manner. He also can raise up issues that they believe are suitable for discussion at that level. Of course, he also intervenes and he ensures that the discussion does not go out of hand as out of the scope of what has been, to some extent, defined. You've been a very beautiful idea, and thank you very much. I've been told to sit out some more time. But what we'll do is we'll go back to the panelists who have done wonderful jobs. They make me shine, they make me look good. Because if I'm chairman of a panel of idiots, then you can imagine that me too, I've been number one idiot yourself. Right? But I've been very fortunate to have people like Williams, Chinelu, Messi, my other guy there, and they've done very, very well. I'm proud of them. I wish we have more of these sessions. So let me start from you. Yeah, somebody started from you. So let me start from you now. I'm going to take into closure.
Okay, in 1 minute, I will say a big thanks to Labaf for this wonderful session, to be honest. I really don't know much about Lagos, but watching the video clip, hearing different panelists discussing on the team and issues that happened in the past, I would say this is a great move. And truly, with the idea of putting consideration, moderation, learning our culture, letting our children to know about the history, I believe in the next maybe 2 years, we're going to see the better Lagos.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Oh, Jesus. Thank you so much, everyone. So thank you. I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for the fact that we watched this slide today, and I've gotten to know some things about Lagos from the time it's begun up to now. And from what I can see, actually, is the fact that Lagos started on a good pace, although there are some things happen in between. Let's say from between 2000 and something, late 90s to this early 2000. But what is happening now in Lagos? Because I remember I asked the question between Lagos then and Lagos now, which one is better? So I feel like Lagos now is actually growing. We're actually growing, actually, because when I watched a particular clip downstairs, I saw the bridge and everything. But now everything is getting organized, falling into place. And, the buildings, Lagos is becoming modernized, unlike before. And then Freedom Park, that was one of the old prisons of that time. No, they showed old and then and now. You can see that Freedom Park is being reformed to where we are right now. And we have, in fact, those stuffs are now like in the museum where we go, we see things, and we're like, oh, we feel the history of that time. So I'm so happy, I'm so glad to be here.
Thank you. Okay. So this has been a very enlightening session. Like, I've learned a lot, like a whole lot. I didn't really know much about Lagos, but now I can, say things about Lagos, and I believe so much that the Lagos we want to see will definitely come. And also, I hope that every one of us, when we leave this place today, would be able to embody our cultures, we'll be able to promote our cultures individually, and would see the future that we want to see.
Oba Jetty. That's a good one. I told the panel it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, finally, I just want to say I'm glad I was on this panel to learn and unlearn things I've been told. So I just want to say, conclude with the culture everybody is adapting and modernizing to. Don't forget that no matter how much English you speak, even the owners of the language, the Americans in quotes, they do not speak the proper English. And you that you claim English as your first language, you still have to prove that you can speak English through the IELTS and whatnot. And you have to do that every year. So don't forget to keep your culture and make your culture top priority. And also don't forget, don't tell me Lagos is no man's land. I am a Lagosian.
Lagos is actually a man's land. Hear this one. In the history of the human race, you will never come across a piece of land, any piece of land somewhere, that did not have somebody's name on it. Go and do your research and come back. In any collective society, you will never get to a point of seeing a space inhabited by people over the years that did not have its original aborigines as settlers. I'm challenging you on this one. I'm not a politician. So when I hear some of these things, I feel very bad. You cannot tell me that a piece of earth somewhere exists that has no ownership. It's absurd. It's something close to lunacy. Don't tell me that. Because you see, every single... Now, how did this thing? We've told you that the people that formed Lagos and some other parts of the southwest, practically everywhere, came from Ife. That's a fact of history. Nobody's manufacturing anything here. And that some of them came to Lagos, not even knowing that this will become Lagos, and they found the place by supernatural occurrence, and one recipient, and they settled down there, according to the court, when they were moving from Ife to the place, and they began to do things. The people that were there did all manner of activities because let's add water. They were fishermen. Some of them did animal husbandry. Some of them were farmers. Some of them were blacksmiths. Some of them did all manner. Some were hunters. Those were their initial preoccupations, and they survived at that level. And they moved on to other places, and they began to increase. They multiplied. They procreated, and they extended their reach to other places. And soon others began to join them. For instance, Lagos State as it is was not a state before 1967. It was like an amalgamation of places that operated a particular region that were there. And so agitations began that Lagos must become a geopolitical entity that has state status. A lot of things happened, the politics of it and everything. And today, by 1967, Lagos had become a state by the creation of a decree that made that come into effect by General Yakubu Gowon before the onset of the Civil War. So, and people all along have been living there. Every land in Lagos, every zone has people. You must have heard about the Ibile concept. Ibile as in Ikorodu, Badagry, Island, Lagos, Mainland, and Ekpe. Those are the 5 zones that made up Lagos. Lagos had its territory defined. Lagos had its rulers who were in place. Lagos had the landowners. Lagos had the powers and movers of that society. Lagos had people who could tell nobody that there are people in Lagos State. Even when Abuja was created, when Lagos became too congested, and they needed to do another capital, they started what they call the Justice Akinola Abuja Commission. They were given the mandate, one of it, to find a place that could suitably be called the Federal Capital Territory. They got to know about Abuja, and they picked Abuja. Part of why they picked Abuja was central. The idea was to create a place where you reflect national unity by geography. It was equidistant because some research has proved that if we leave Lagos now and travel by road to Abuja, the person that comes from, you would arrive almost at the same time. And that it was a virgin land at that point. It was not heavily populated. Otherwise, it was one of Lagos. And that they could, were even be settled. So they could have a large space for development at that level for that time. So, even Abuja had its own regional owners. Even America, with all the noise, had the Red Indians who were there. Some were killed, some were located. Some of things happened. But they still knew that those were their homelands. Some still had their land, their shrines, all those things there, as I speak today. So how dare anybody come and say that Lagos is no man's land? It is madness. So Lagos has its owner. And there are some names you hear, they will tell you Omekoni. Even with all the noise and everything around them. So don't ever join them, because the essence of such is to also educate ourselves. It should be a shame for you to watch that thing. And this is what I've said, what we've said here collectively, and then you go and join them and say Lagos has no land. You can't talk like that. It is illiterate to speak like that. You will not be literate in Jesus' name. On that note, I want to bring the panel to closure. I want to thank my brother Jaman for giving me the privilege of chairing this session. Even though I came not prepared at all to chairman anything, I was hoping my brother here would be the one to do it. But he saw me, and I don't know what happened, and he asked me to go over. So I have to apologize for snatching your okay. It's general, is that I did it better? Thank you, sir. So it's been a very wonderful session. I've enjoyed myself very tremendously, and I've learned so much on the floor than I would have had if I had not come to this place today. So I want to thank you very much for coming, contributing so beautifully. And thank you. Photograph, please. Pictures. Brilliant.
Photograph.
In fact, stand on next side. Nobody should cover you.
Are you ready? Everybody say Labaf. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. Please, let's.
No? Yes. Everybody say Labaf. Sekora. Sekora. Yeah. Look at that. All the volunteers. Everybody say Labaf.
They have done it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. The panel we thought wouldn't last for 15 minutes lasted for 1.5 hours.
Hello. Please, this next session is about poetry. So you have to be, no, all the choral volunteers. Oh yeah. Why you say, are you in technical? No. It's
This person, this is not poetry. This is Sycamore, so they are.
No, Sycamore is poetry.
Okay.
You are not a technical person. Move. We will put it off. Or come here. Leave there. That's technical. I don't want anybody who's not in technical to be there. Anyway, we are waiting for you to settle down. We are waiting on you to settle down. So please, let's feel this. Hey, Baba music, Baba poet, all the way from Ibadan. Damilola. Are you cold, sir? The way you are holding your hand, I see. Hey, please come forward. We have our poets and authors in our midst, and we don't want you to be so scattered. If you're on YouTube, it's so I couldn't come and do it. Very intense discussion, but the all was looking empty, and there are people Come. Sitting in. Look at this one. No. Because they want to be pressing phone. I for don't make them now phone pressing, no agree. Kill and shame, man. What are you doing there? See, if you see on Zoom and YouTube, it's so empty. They all look like there's nobody inside. When Mama will be looking at that thing, she will complain. And be Mama Taiwa, because she doesn't like that kind of thing. Okay. Is your call?
First, it's just.
So you are welcome once again to Labaf 2023. So the next event is book trek that will be moderated by Anna. Please, let's give her a round of applause. So she'll be the one to do the introduction of the authors and begin with her. Thank you.
Can I get that, please? Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the final day of Labaf 2023. That means that this is the last book trek, and importantly is the past ones we've done about books on history, we've done about fiction, we've done short stories. Today we're going to be looking at poetry. I'd like to start by calling the panelists. Please put your hands together for Betty Zainab. And please put your hands together for two white Bedu poets. Another, no. A third poet is supposed to join us online. I don't know if is he there now? Hi, good evening, good afternoon, Joshua. Please put your hands together for Joshua Omeke. Hi, Joshua, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well. Can you hear me?
Yes, clearly. Okay, so we're just going to go.
Thank you.
So we're just going to go straight. Let me give you a little heads up. And Joshua, this is especially for your benefit, right? Prior, when we had the for the book track for short stories, the authors were required to read excerpts from their short story. And for the one for fiction, the authors were required to read excerpts. I'm also going to require that you read one or two of your poems, but can you please perform for us?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you so much. All right, sir.
You're welcome.
Okay, so Joshua, can you tell us a bit about your collection? I'm going to start from you so we carry you along in the conversation. I just opened the book and I saw one. What's the name? The Undies Evolution.
Undies Evolution.
And immediately I got interested. Please tell us about this collection and what inspired it, please.
Apparently, the collection of poems is from my archive of poems, because I write poems almost every week. So what inspired me to release the collection of poems was because I was in a conversation with someone that motivated me to put my work out there. And the person said, if you observe the recent world we live in, art is not what is mostly appreciated in today's time. Everybody wants to wear the latest clothes. They are forgetting that art is what keeps us going. It is from the forms of art that we're able to define the meaning of our lives. So I decided to just gather a few poems that are actually written and place it in the anthology, and then I titled it Joe's Coletania. So what that means is, because my name is Joshua and Joe is like the short form of my name, so it's trying to let you know that, because Coletania means a collection of things. So that's a collection of poems, and that's Joshua's collection of poems. That's Joe's Coletania. And I did speak of diverse topics in this anthology. I spoke about the themes of love. I spoke about the themes of betrayal, the themes of colonialism and your colonial entanglements. I did speak about the themes of a good relationship with God or a practitioner of faith. Like if you practice faith, So basically, I spoke about that. Then I did speak about those who aspire to dream. I spoke about COVID-19, the effect it left in our life when it started and it left us. So basically, if you take your time to review this, it's going to help you not just to learn new words, but it will also give you the insights of what life was from another person's perspective, because most of the things actually written were either personal experience mixed with a bit of fiction, or they were all personal experiences from other people I conversed with, and I converted it into poetry.
Okay, please put your hands together for Joshua. Thank you very much, Joshua. I hope that with this first act, in the previous session, someone mentioned equality. Please note, let it be on record that I did not start with Betty, because I wanted to avoid ladies first, right? Okay, so Betty, I'm going to come to you now. What inspired your collection? Please tell us about it.
Okay, Sycamore is a collection of poems that mirrors, let me start by saying women's struggles, then it evolved to being societal struggles. So the struggle of each and every person, especially women, is represented here, from the issues of abuse, female genital mutilation, to healing from mental illnesses, growth, and finding yourself, ultimately.
Yeah. Thank you, Betty. Bedu Poets, what inspired Usokun Boy?
Okay, greetings. From the title, Usokun Boy. So I'm from Usokun. Usokun is the name of a community in River State. And I decided to title the book Usokun Boy because it is an experience of a young man who have seen the limitation of his people, of his forebears, seen a way out. He has seen a way out to go for more. So if you look at the cover page of the work, you see a leg coming out from black mud. You know, so all of that is a representation of someone who have seen what has held other people's down, and have seen a way out, and is going out and telling the present generation and the ones to come that whatever limitations that our ancestors have seen, we can do better and rewrite the narrative.
Okay, thank you very much, Bedu Poet. Thank you so much. So, I like how we've all defined, the inspiration and what our poems are about. And so I think it's important to ask, I'm going to come to you, Joshua. Are there specific themes or motifs that consistently recur in your work, or do you just freestyle? Because you said you mentioned COVID.
So basically, yeah, and everything. So basically, I don't think there's an actual theme to it because, like I said, they were from the archive of poems written, but each and every one of them actually relates to our day-to-day activities. We'll take, for instance, the stupor. So the stupor talks about someone who is tired of working, but then they need that money and they need that career experience in order to carry on with their path in life. So basically, the stupor talks about someone who is tired of working.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm trying to check my notes. Thank you very much, Joshua. Betty, I'd like to ask.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And this question is for all of you. I'd expect answers from everyone. What creative challenges did you face while writing this book, your collection?
I wouldn't call it a creative challenge per se, but the first challenge for me was overcoming myself, my own emotions. Now, most of the poems in Sycamore are situations that I lived through. So finding that balance where I am trying to narrate what I've been through, but at the same time in a way that it relates to the reader. it was a very big challenge for me. Like, I had to strike a balance between, hey, I want to cry and shoot myself in the head, and while you read this, there's hope for you. So that was a very big challenge for me.
Oh, wow. Please put your hands together for her. Are there particular aspects of writing your poetry like found like maybe super challenging or super rewarding that was during the creative process now that you'd like to share?
Okay, so I won't see it as I won't qualify it as a challenge. I'll just see it as one of the processes where we get into the character or into the world of what we want to tell. Like, while I was writing the poems, inspired me to get into that world, to actually write some of the poems again. Like, one of the poems that I wrote, as I was writing that poem, I was crying. That was about a particular man called Kurata. You know, the chorus of that poem is, Kurata, Kurata, in this life, my life must matter. You know, so it's actually a story about a man I was inspired by while growing up, but he was full of a lot of potentials, you know, but over time, he didn't attain anything substantial, you know, before he died. So that was emotional for me.
Wow. Okay. Thanks so much for sharing that. Joshua, I'd like to ask you the same question. What aspects of the creative process did you find, say, most challenging, most rewarding?
The most challenging aspect was being able to take the words out of my thoughts into the paper that I was writing. Because many a times you can become inspired to write barely by listening to someone's story or watching a movie. But at the end of the day, the exact diction you use actually matters if that's a poem or it's jargon. And you have to tell it in a way that it's not just from your own perspective, but anyone can read and find it amusing. It's not, take for instance, Gwendolyn. There's a poem called The Golden Stool by Gwendolyn. As at the time she wrote that poem, many people didn't really understand, like, why would you write this kind of poem? It doesn't really paint a picture to what anyone can experience. But in recent times, after a dismissal, many poets here in the UK are finding it really amusing to use our work as, they have not turned it to a theme in poetry, the golden shovel. So when they write a line, they add a line from that poem to continue what they mean in their own poetry. So I wanted it to be in a way that anyone can pick up this collection of poetry and read in later years and find the meaning to it. But it was difficult for me to get that through. So what I then decided to do was I took time in writing. Instead of trying to let out the whole words at once, I actually wrote them in beats. And that was how I was able to achieve it. Now, what I was able to learn from this creative process is, with patience, you can actually do great things, because you may want instant results, but it doesn't really come that easily. You need to take a while to get something perfected, although there's no such thing as perfection, but to get it to a form whereby it's then sensible, not just to yourself, but to every other person that gets to read the work. So writing this collection of poetry taught me the need of installing patience in my practices, rather than just trying to rush the whole thing and try to make it make sense when it wasn't making sense.
All right, thank you very much. Betty,
you're welcome.
I'm going to come to you now. Who are some of your literary influences, and how did they shape your work?
The list is long.
Sure.
But essentially I've always been an avid reader, not necessarily of poetry, but literary works generally. I started with the classics, Wole Soyinka, Chinua Achebe, Ngugi wa Thiong'o, and the likes. But after a while, I would say Instagram was like the platform where I started seeing poetry in another light, where you have the likes of Poet Olu, who would just pick a particular topic and write in such a way that you begin to wonder, like, what exactly goes on in this man's head. Then you have Yanu Adebiyi, you have Romeo Oriogun, and yeah, a whole long list. Like each and every one of them, as in one way or the other, impacted my poetry journey.
So which of these ones constantly revisit for inspiration?
For inspiration, I would say Khalil Gibran.
Oh.
And Romeo Oriogun, Poet Olu, Pamela Jacobs.
Okay.
Almost every time.
Okay, so I'm giving people free poetry masterclass. Please clap for me for asking those questions. Okay, so Gbedu Poet, I'm coming to you. Who are your literary influences and how have they shaped your work?
Okay, so poetry started for me when I stumbled on the poems of William Shakespeare. Then from William Shakespeare, started reading, I discovered Wole Soyinka. From Wole Soyinka, I discovered Gabriel Okara, which then I was in Port Harcourt, so I had the opportunity of meeting him, and he forwarded my first book. Then after that, I became an avid reader, you know, just consuming a lot. Because for me, I believe for you to actually write a poem, writing poem